Peter?
20 seconds.
20 seconds, okay. We're going to count down.
No, you said 1 second.
Oh, 1 second, I said 20
But
seconds.
mine
I'm used to
probably is
that.
20 seconds.
15 seconds.
You do
It said 20, but you're good now.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine away.
I'd like to call the January 9th, 2025 Planning Board meeting to order. In the absence of the chair, I'll call the roll. Chair LaFaro is here. Finnerty, Vice Chair.
Present.
Secretary is absent. George Mutu is out. Tom Neely.
Present.
Kate Fulham.
Present.
David Glazer.
Present.
We have a quorum. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have one set of minutes to approve, November 21st. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, November 21st. Okay, so on the agenda, we're moving the town board referrals down the road. Anthony, where did Anthony go?
Christine,
Over there.
I had this for you.
Claire, is Anthony there?
Was here.
You want to do extension?
Yes, so you have all received the adequacy review for the EIS for 94 June Road. John Dennis requested an adjournment until January 23rd, 25, so he could have the team here.
Word action deadline for
Adequacy review.
adequacy.
So motion?
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Moving on to NRP. Is John here? Claire?
I think they're just outside speaking about it.
John,
Okay.
Is John Bennett on that too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Bennett.
Oh, because he had other consultants. Oh, Haley's here.
That's better.
Quiet, the mic is on.
I think I'll go.
Claire, so we're moving on to number 6, NRP Holding.
Yes.
Claire, it is all yours.
Thank you. So, last we saw this, in December, we had reviewed both the pre-app report for the subdivision and the site plan staff report for both site plans. Lot number 1, which is the affordable housing, lot number 2 is just the cleanup of those existing structures. So, the applicant's representative is here, Bailey. So she'd like to talk to you about possibly doing a hold on the site plan aspect of it and proceed with the SECRA and the pre-app report, which is the subdivision one is there's no action, you're giving them guidance going forward with the subdivision. So I'd have no problem with that. You want to? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on up.
So one of the lots is going to be CPF, right?
One of the lots of the 3 lots is going to be is slated to be purchased for CPF. It did say the language in the finding statement did say it could be some other not-for-profit purchasing
Okay.
it, but right now CPF is interested, and that is going forward as far as I know.
And then one lot is the actual Struggles facility, right?
The lot
car
number
wash and-
2 is the
right.
Struggles facility, which is kind of like a cleanup, removing some trailers, maybe create some buffers. That was the point. Truthfully, I gave her the decisions today, so it did take a little bit to go, to review, of course. So naturally, just holding off on that.
So holding off on the site plan,
On the subject.
but
Just
we'll
for 2 weeks.
review the subdivision.
Yeah, and
And
then
secret.
they're also asking for the secret findings. And that one, I think doing them all together makes sense to me, but that's up to you, of course. And that's-
Meaning that we would not go through secret findings now and hold off on it, or how do you want to do it?
If we
Bailey,
could go
can you give me
forward
your
with,
name for the
sure,
record?
Bailey Larkin with Bennett and Reed, 212 Windmill Lane in Southampton. If possible, we'd like you to adopt a secret finding today because we're trying to move forward with health department. And the health department does require that to move forward with the application for subdivision and also for the STP that's proposed. So if possible, we'd ask that you adopt your findings, accept the finding statements from the town board tonight, and then also move forward with the pre-application report for the subdivision. And just give us a little more time to review the finalized staff report and resolutions for the site plan applications.
Claire, are you comfortable with that? So
I
that sequence or not?
would push back on the secret findings, just because the health department now has the town board secret findings. And that's the one you're adopting anyway. So
Right.
there's no difference. If they're relying on somebody else to do secret for them, which they shouldn't be, they can use the town boards, you know. But I just think that they should go hand in hand. You
I agree
may,
with you.
after a discussion, find that because of all the secret, you know, I've been living, breathing this, but all the secret information and all the environmental things that you might want to amend the finding statements when you know what
Right.
your conditions will be for the site plan. And obviously, we haven't discussed the conditions yet. We just
Right.
discussed the staff.
And it'll give
Remind
us some
the date
time.
of approval of the finding statement the town board did.
Yes, November 28th of 2023.
That's good.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so, so what do you want to go over, the draft? The draft is.
So the draft pre-application report, this I think we all agree. So
Yeah,
we'll do
we
that
can
right
do that.
here.
Okay.
So let me
So
do that
we're in
too.
agreement that we're going to hold the site plan and the secret
Secret until-
determination
Okay.
until, what, 2 weeks?
2
Is
weeks
that
would
it?
be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is good. And you have that one. And I gave you the latest
do.
and greatest, right? The
Yep.
one that had the language we just talked about, right? Okay, so that's that.
This is the NOP holding lot 1 and 2.
Lot 1, 2, and 3, this would be their pre-app, so they can go forward with their subdivision health departments. This is the main lot, number 1, proposed lot number 3, and then lot number 2, and then 2 open space parcels on either side. That would be what's the 25% for the
Are
open
they
space.
separate parcels?
They are separate parcels, yes.
So it's 5 lot subdivision.
Well, you know, in
3.
open space, we don't call
Oh,
it
that's right,
5
okay.
lots, we call it 3 plus open space.
So it's open space.
And if they're 2, they're, you know, that's fine for us too. They'll achieve the same goal there, so.
Okay.
Okay, so, as I said, we reviewed this already. We even reviewed the, you know, all the comments. So I can just go through the recommendations if you want to do that. So the planning board's preferred plan is the PRD plan with approximately 4.33 acres of open space, representing 25% of the MF PRD area. The applicant has stated the open space parcels will be dedicated to the town. So that was more new information, so I added that. Comments from the town engineer had not been received to date. Any comments received subsequent to the adoption of this report will be forwarded to the applicant and be addressed in the final application. Lot number 1 is proposed for a 79 rental unit affordable project known as NRP Holding. The site is currently undergoing site plan review and includes a sewage treatment plant. Lot number 2 has a Strebels car wash and laundromat. The site is currently undergoing site plan review. The bathroom sewage from lot number 2 is proposed to be redirected to the proposed sewage treatment plant for lot number 1. An easement or agreement to facilitate the connection will be required. The subject site is identified as a community preservation fund priority property. Identified lot number 3 is proposed to be created for potential purchase by town CPF. Number 6 is the park fee requirement. In this case, it would be lot number 3 is generating a park fee because it technically has development rights still on it. So the flat fee would be $2,500. Now, if there's a contract, maybe waive that. It's up to you whether you think it's kind of like an exercise just to get $2,500 from, you know, something. But it's up to you. whether you do it. So we can leave it. It can be an issue at the end of the process. The proposed action is classified as a type 1 action. Obviously, I discussed the whole secret process prior. Property lines between lot number 1 and the town open space parcels and the CPF parcels would have like a split rail fence to delineate the separation. And the Conservation Board supports the open space plan, no response from trails, and final application for health department approval.
Did CPF consider buying the whole of the second lot?
I don't know.
Is that what you're saying in number 5?
Number 5, I'm saying that's
Lot 3.
Well, it says the subject site is identified as a community preservation fund priority property. Identified lot 3, so this part of that subject property is slated to be purchased. Right?
so it's in the community preservation fund's plan as a priority parcel, the entire thing.
Okay.
Yes.
So it would have to be subdivided anyway to maintain the Strebels.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're not missing any recommendations here, Claire?
No.
Any questions on this, Tyler?
No, I don't actually.
Any questions from the board?
To adopt it.
Okay, so we can move to adopt the draft pre-app report by Dennis, second by Kate, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Okay, so.
Then there'd be an extension on the 2 site plans.
Okay, so motion to have an extension on the 2 site plans?
2.
The secret review and the site plan?
Not the
No?
secret review.
No.
The secret review
It's all,
is attached to the site plan, so there's no
Okay.
extension with that. You can do the decision, when you do the decision, you have to do secret prior to it,
Right.
but it's the site plan that's generating the need to do secret.
okay,
So this
so an
is
extension on the site plan.
the site plan, so it's lot number 1 and lot number 2, so it'd be 2 actions.
Okay, so extension on lot number 1 site plan, motion by Kate, second by David, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. An extension on the site plan for lot number 2, motion by Dennis, second by Tom, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
If you want hard copies, since I printed them out anyways, should I give you hard copies
Yes,
of everything
yes,
we
so
got?
to review.
So good, I'll give it to you at the end of
And
the
if we
day.
have any questions, we can email you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Give me a call either one.
Phone.
Sounds good. Great. And then we're in order, right? So who's next?
Next is Anthony.
Garrison?
Yep, the Garrison. So this is a property at 88 Lewis Road.
It's
in the-
called the Garrison, Anthony, because
Yeah.
it's, okay.
It's called the Garrison, yeah. 88 Lewis Road, CR 80 zoning district, aquifer protection overlay district. Actually, this is the final option. So, we're doing 2 things with this today. We got a final application in, but we're gonna deem it incomplete. We gotta do the secret on it, but health department doesn't do the approval of the subdivision until secret is done, so we get this overlap sometimes, so.
And who's representing this?
Lisa Poyer's here.
Lisa.
So just a reminder, you can see the triangular shaped property up there. So,
That's a big, large parcel.
yeah, it is. It's a cluster plan, so we got a chunk of open space down here, a chunk on the top there, and then they put the lots in the middle. You can see, obviously, the first lot's under
It's an
construction.
existing house.
What's that?
It's an existing house.
Yeah, that there you can see sitting right there. And then with a common driveway serving the other 3 lots and a 25-foot buffer on the Lewis Road.
So that upper one is lot 1, and then 2, 3, and 4?
Yep. And then the 2 open space parcels.
I'm just a little concerned about the development to the east of Lewis Road. Does it come in above? Where does that come in? You know?
You mean the common driveway for the 3 lots, or?
Yeah.
You know,
That's-
Comes in below.
Below
Yeah.
where the house is?
I think right in the line.
Lisa Poyer, on behalf of the applicant.
Yes, Lisa.
I think the point of that lot is about right in here.
So there won't be a conflict then, it would be
No,
below.
Because the other road is coming in about here.
Yeah, I would say that road is sitting right about there. This shouldn't be a conflict there. But when we did this, we, were clear that we wanted one common driveway serving the lots. So that we do have.
For those 3 lots.
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
besides
No,
its own.
that has its own driveway. And how much is the open space? 25%?
50,
50%.
by the time you combine them.
Yep, 50%.
Is APOD?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's right, it would be 50.
And Pine Barrens compatible growth.
Correct.
So the first part is secret. Just take one of these.
You got my notes.
Yeah, so the first part is the part 2, which we'll go through. Then the very last page is the part 3, which I got to fix. It's riddled with spelling mistakes. So going through the EAF here, impacts on land. Yes, as we always say, there's always impacts on land when you have new development. But in this particular case, the clearing restrictions, open space, limiting the number of driveways, I think addresses any potential concerns that you would have there.
You say that
In the part 3, yeah. This part is where you're doing the check off, and then the part 3 is where we outline it. Impacts on geological features, not in this case. Surface water is also not in this case. Groundwater, yes, we, again, with the additional residential lots. But again, I think that with the new IA systems and the clearing restrictions and some open space, we could potentially mitigate there. Impacts on flooding are not expected on this property. Doesn't seem to be any flooding issues there. Again, no impacts on air expected. Impacts on plants and animals, yes, again, as you would expect, but the impacts would be small in light of the open space preservation and clearing restrictions.
Are there any, it's not northern bat territory or any of that?
I feel like the entirety of Suffolk County is in the bat thing, so I'm pretty sure that the bat window will be applicable.
Okay, so we reference that.
We can, but the building department's been, we'll reference it. Can I have your pen for a second? Yes, we'll reference
Because the clearing.
Right, correct. There's a time of year to clear.
Yeah, we'll make sure that gets referenced. No impacts on agricultural resources.
When is the clearing window?
I'm sorry?
When is the clearing window?
It's January 5th.
December,
Basically, December to the end of February.
Yeah.
the end of
3
February.
months, yeah.
That's a very tight window.
Very tight window.
All of December?
Yes. Yeah.
December, January, and Feb.
Yeah, I think it's
3
January,
months.
December,
Right now,
January, and
right?
Feb. Yeah. Impacts on aesthetic resources, no. Impacts on historic or archaeological resources, no. It's actually not really an archaeological sensitive area. Impacts on open space and recreation, no. We got the 50% preservation here, so that's good. Impact on critical environmental areas, yes. The APOD is a critical environmental area, so we like to acknowledge that new development
Pine
takes
Barrens
down
compatible growth.
Pine Barrens compatible growth. And those two were, designed to coincide with each other. But again, I guess with the clearing restrictions and with the open space preservation, that would be the built-in mitigation for this project. Impacts on transportation, yes, obviously on Lewis Road, we'll have some more cars coming in, but we mitigated it with the number of curb cuts coming into and out of the site. No expected impact on energy or noise, odor, and light. No impacts on human health. And it appears the project is consistent with community plans and community character. So based on all that, I would recommend that a negative declaration be issued for this project.
Why don't you go over the examiner?
Yeah. So I say that although impacts on land are anticipated, the impacts will be minimal as this is a reduced density subdivision with 25% of the land. Oh, it's 50%, so I'll fix that. Yep.
And density.
Yeah, and a density reduction. Yes, actually, this was, you had a yield of 6 lots on here, so it is a reduced density as well. So we should note that in there, actually. Impacts on groundwater are mitigated with the reduction in density, preservation of open space, implementation of the APOD clearing restrictions, and installation of innovative alternative septic systems. Although the subdivision and subsequent development of the lots will reduce the amount of land to support animal species, the impacts are mitigated through reduction in density, preservation of open space, and implementation of the clearing restrictions.
Put the northern bat area in
Yes, we will add that. So we'll put the reference in there and the clearing limitations. Located in the APOD, the subject is located in a critical environmental area for which impacts will be minimal and effectively mitigated through the subdivision design, which includes open space protection and clearing restrictions. The subdivision was not expected to adversely impact air quality, water quality, traffic, or noise levels. Solid waste disposal methods will be approved by the county health department, and any flooding, erosion, and drainage issues will be addressed by the town engineer. And we don't, that's it, just the town engineer. The whole discussion about conservation board and wetlands buffers are not applicable here.
So we take that out?
I'll take that out.
So town engineer, period.
Period. The character and aesthetic qualities of the community neighborhood shall remain, given the open space. And again, this buffer on Lewis Road, which I think was pretty good, because now you're going to have sort of a wooded look the whole entire length of Lewis Road. It's consistent with the local plans in the surrounding neighborhood in terms of land use and intensity of use. It won't adversely affect any long-range plan, and therefore there will be no significant environmental impacts.
I'm still a little confused about where the road from that other subdivision is coming in, and if it's going to impact and be in conflict with any kind of an exit road or driveway.
No, this one's existing. This one's here. The new house has already been installed, so you can see
But it's right next to that,
what's to the north of it, yeah.
but just a touch.
Just a touch.
Okay, so is there any way to lower it, or, I think it's gonna be in conflict. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I see.
Driveway
I
into
do.
that lot one,
They already have the existing utilities coming in there, underground utilities.
they have that.
You talking about Spinney Road?
No, on Lewis Road.
Yeah, but the road I'm looking at is Spinney Road.
Spinny. I think
Oh, is that
that's
the spinning continuation?
That's what I'm talking about, that
Spinney.
Spinney Road comes down.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
road we're talking about, Spinny.
It ends about right here. It's just south of the curb cut.
Okay, but you're bringing how many houses
One.
along that? No, I'm talking about the adjoining, the property to the north and to the east, where you have how many houses? At least 6 or 7, right?
5? Let's see. 1,
Exiting on that
3.
road.
So
I can't see
here,
that one. Is that
this
Spinney?
right here, see this white line?
Yeah,
Basically, so our open space doesn't really follow that line, but it largely follows that
I
line.
got that,
So this will be preserved, this is preserved, and then the new houses are going right in here.
right. So put your arrow on the road that I'm concerned about,
Is it this one here?
going up.
That's Spinney.
That's Spinny. The new driveway is gonna be somewhere down here.
Do you have the distance from the existing driveway to the new driveway on there? If you could-
261
show
plus
it.
233 plus 289. Whatever that would be.
700 and some, 700, 800? So Anthony, you could draw a line 800 feet from the existing driveway.
From Old Country Road up.
From here to here.
Yeah.
That's, I think that would, if
that what we
you-
said at
if you read
800?
off
261, 461, 490. Yeah, almost 800, just shy.
So You
Well,
can use
it's,
your little-
it's hard to do here. We got like, shoot.
I know that.
See, that existing driveway of that lot one is
So
coming
from there, if you
right
go
out.
south 800 feet,
Yeah,
you
that's
know where
existing.
you're,
That's not changing, I don't think.
right,
Well, they
so
can
if you
move
go
it.
800 feet, that shows you where you're,
It's sort of the new. the
Your new driveways.
The new driveways.
Yeah, these are skewed a little bit, so you're looking, it's down here somewhere, basically, is where your driveway is gonna be, the common driveway.
so you're,
existing driveway.
if you're concerned about
What's
Spinney,
that
Spinney
distance?
looks to be about 600 or 700 feet north
Right.
of,
My
Yeah.
concern
Of the
is the
new
existing
driveway.
driveway
Of the
for
new
lot
dri-
one.
That
Right
driveway.
there.
That's
main
in
house
already.
driveway.
I think the applicant's representing that the utilities have been put.
They're already in
Yeah.
the ground.
I mean,
And
that driveway's been there all along, right?
It was in a there used to be another house
That was a house they took it
further to
down.
the south.
Yeah,
They demolished that, and then the other driveway is
Yeah.
to the north.
that's just one,
So they're
that's
It's
servicing
one, it's
house.
one.
75 feet apart, I would say, and being on opposite sides of the road.
That's all right, Tom, it's okay?
I think if they were on the same side of the road,
Yeah,
I think it'd be a bigger concern.
it's just a funny intersection there, that's all.
It is.
I know Spinney well. The problem with Spinney is you come in and you turn up Lewis, which is like a drag strip from Sunrise Highway. There's no stop sign, nothing.
Going
And as you can,
north?
yeah, and what problem is it's an angled road, so you think, oh, no traffic. What you have to do is, oh, no traffic. You gotta get that neck turned. And when you have a stiff neck, as you age.
Okay, well, I just flagged it. as,
Sure.
You know.
Okay.
Makes sense.
It's not always apparent that you're not on a T intersection, you're on an angle.
Okay, so
So
We're
that
very
would
happy
be,
to make
number,
that.
yep, so number 7 would be a negative declaration.
okay, so motion for unless any more comment on it. Okay, motion for a neg deck on the Garrison. Someone?
Sure.
David. Second by
Second. Oh.
Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
And then just look through 20 then, the Garrison.
Number 20.
Number 20, yeah. So we're just so you know, we need the health department approval, things that
We need
are
everything.
complete. Health department and the common driveway plan is the big thing.
Yeah.
Also,
Motion
to deem it incomplete.
Motion to deem incomplete.
Okay,
Oh,
number
second.
20, incomplete by Kate and second by Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Yep. Brenna?
Hello,
Aye.
this is a SECRA review for 1004 Montauk Highway.
Oh, is this the one by Willow Road?
The other corner lot,
Yeah.
that's your copy, so if you don't,
Thank you.
keeping that one for yourself.
You can pass it down.
Sure.
I'm gonna put these plans up in case we have to record it. This, and I have, so I don't know if you recall, this was, we did pre-submission late winter, early spring. After the adoption of that report, the, part of the conditions of the report, the board requested a work session. So you sort of saw it after they made some revisions, which the board was generally in favor of. This is what it looks like, if you recall, with the presence on Montauk Highway as well as the pedestrian.
So it's wide facing.
It's the wide facing, yeah.
Widest face in Montauk Highway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had wanted to turn around.
Yeah.
Didn't.
It was before you, I think November 21st it was, where the board coordinated optional SECRA review. We haven't heard anything from the other agencies. We sent it out to the New York State DOT and Suffolk County. No response. So today I have it before you for adoption of lead agency and reviewing the environmental, the EAF forms.
Okay, so
and
you
then
want it all in
potentially
one?
complete.
Do you want it one motion or two?
Well, it'll be 2 actions on 1 resolution, and then if the board is comfortable the lead agency, and if the board is comfortable to adopt a declaration, it'd be 2 actions on 1 resolution, and if we get that far, I have a separate resolution for completeness and setting a hearing date. But we can start with the environmental.
Let's start with
it.
So do we need, we're lead agency on this?
We are, yeah.
Okay.
Once if you adopt it, yeah. But no one else has responded. I think we should be. This is, the EAF2 is in your packet. If you like, I identified everything, any of the impacts, and I wrote out the narrative for the part 3. So I could go over that narrative. We could just start with that.
You found no inflow, old moderate?
Small,
No.
small.
Yeah, it was all, or small to moderate, but not even all of the impacts. The first one is the impact on land. There's a copy if you wanna,
Yes, I'll follow along.
if you want to.
Yes, that's good.
So no or small impact for the impact on land. It's a new two-story, 6,300 square foot medical office building with associated parking and a full building footprint for the basement with storage and mechanical. The parcel's obviously vacant. It measures 40,210 square feet. It was previously cleared between 2021 and 2022. It's in HB zoning. The proposal includes the parking area, of course, drainage, and a new IA system. And the medical use, of course, is permitted in the HB zoning. And the full area of the property will be disturbed for construction purposes. The impact on surface water. There's a drainage, a town drainage easement 2 lots over. It's flagged on wetlands inventory, but I reviewed it further with conservation and Marty Shea, and it's beyond 200 feet from the nearest subject property line, so it's out of that zone. The impact on groundwater, the project will or shall conform to Suffolk County Department of Health. There's potential storm water runoff, of course, for the parking area. It's located in groundwater management 4. That allows 300 gallons per day of allowable flow for each half acre, 600 for a full acre. So in this case, they're generating 656 gallons per day, which exceeds the allowable by 202.15 gallons, and the applicant intends to purchase TDR credits to offset that with the county.
How many would they need?
I'm sorry?
How many credits do they need?
200 gallons per day, so a little less than 1 full credit of 300 gallons per day.
Oh, okay, so it's 2.
Yeah. Approximately.
The second page is impact on agricultural resources. I have this as a small impact just because the parcel is identified as having class 2 soils. It was in the aerial photography shows in 1930. It was open farmland, but it was reverted back to the state that it was before, like now in 1960, and it's been that way
Was
since.
there any building on it? I don't remember any
No,
building on
not
it.
that
It's
depicted on
just
the
a
aerial.
vacant
There's nothing.
parcel.
It just always stayed vacant.
It's next to the restaurant.
Yeah, it's right next
Yeah.
to it.
And right in front of Gallagher's Automotive and another automotive. Two
Yeah,
buildings
that little
behind.
spot that takes you back to Deerfield.
Correct, yes.
That's a 60 aerial photograph there. You see, there's nothing.
Wow. 60s?
62.
That was never developed.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Look at that.
Like, where's Watermill?
Right. Impact aesthetic resources.
Yeah, aesthetic resources, no small impact again. The building is generally in keeping with the other HB uses along Montauk Highway. It's this, sort of modern barn-like structure. We compared it a lot to the buildings down the street closer
We
to
referred
Watermill
them to
Square.
that,
Yeah, so this is what was reviewed after the fact. I
And what is that sign on the front?
think
So-
it's a conceptual.
Yes, so there is no tenant in place at the time. They're in coordination with them. So this is just to show that signage will be proposed, and we know that we need to go back for signage. We just wanted to give an idea for how it would look approximately.
And this is the facade facing Montauk Highway.
Yes.
So wood, stucco, glass. I think I have. Yeah, that's everything I have for aesthetic resources. Archaeological resources, small impact. It is within the sensitive area, and they submitted a phase 1A and a 1B, and they encountered no historic or prehistoric artifacts and no further.
We have all those reports.
Yeah, I reviewed everything. No, and they're recommending no further archaeological work. And impact on transportation. The property is vacant. The new curb cut is proposed on Willow Road. There will be no access from Montauk Highway. We talked about establishing cross access, and they're showing it to the restaurant next door. which I think will certainly get implemented during the site plan application process. Just
Do
because
we have it with the restaurant?
we have it with the restaurant?
So we can implement
Yeah,
it?
so we can do it now as
Mhm.
opposed to calling it future, so they'll do it during construction with an easement.
Good.
Had a question, comment there on the first two bullets. When I first read the second bullet, I was just a little bit confused because I was thinking, well, are they not allowed out on Willow? But of course, they are only coming out from Willow to Montauk Highway. Maybe no direct vehicular access. I
Okay.
read the two bullets together and I was
Yeah.
just a little.
I can clarify that so it's not, because you are having to go to Montauk or
All access will
north.
be via Willow. Or,
Uh-huh.
I mean, you kind of say that in number one and kind of in number two, but
No direct vehicular.
I could say no direct.
no, yeah, on to Montauk Highway.
Mhm.
Or, you know,
So they
curb cuts
come,
over
they come out to
highway.
Montauk Highway. There's no
They come-
signal there,
No.
so they can go right and take their lives in their hands if to go left.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
Or
I think it's
they could go back to Deerfield and
That's the
head
way-
that
And
way.
now, that's the best way to go.
and you know, coincidentally or not, you know, we have the traffic impact study that's been developed for the property or for the project right across the street.
the dispensary.
Oh, the
The
dispensary,
dispensary.
Oh, yeah.
right.
Now, I don't think we required a traffic impact study of this applicant, but there is some addressing of your development in that
In that
other
regard.
applicant's study, the report. So I think this is an opportunity to kind of, you know, they're right across the street from each other. Let's
Mhm.
make sure we look at them together.
Yes,
Well, and same with the restaurant, because I was trying to think how the flow of that lot would connect with the cross-access there too, and they're reorganizing the parking.
So they'd be coming out to Willow, I think is maybe where
Potentially.
we're going with this.
Just so the board knows, the cross-access agreement is in place here. It's right in the back here. It comes right up to this corner. It's coming right through to here. So it's
Okay.
already been set. So I should just let the board know. My guess is it's going to come right through to here, and then up to Willow, wherever it's going.
Right, right. Well, and I guess we'll get to it on the next application when we look at the dispensary, but I think, you know, one of the questions, having read that one, and not, sorry to jump from one application to another, but I think we may have to be considering whether there should be restriction on lefts out of Willow. But again, we're maybe getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Well, we can't control Willow, right? Because that's a town.
Well, we can make a recommendation.
we can make a
Oh,
recommendation.
town. Yeah, sorry.
Now,
Yeah.
where is the exit for the dispensary there on the side? You can see it right there?
It's somewhere over here. It's on Willow.
The proposed will be.
I got to take a look at it.
But you can see it, Anthony. It's pretty clearly defined.
Yeah, they're redoing the site, so
I mean,
Ah,
there'll be more parking back here.
I can see Willow eventually turning into like a gravel hill road in Hampton Bays where there's no access completely because you don't need it. And if you know Willow, it's actually in a quite an incline.
mhm.
So not only do you have to find an opening, but you got to rev and God forbid there's a slow moving truck, you know, who's got to get up that grade. So I can see them doing like just a one way. You know how they do
Right,
gravel
yeah,
hill.
they did gravel hill, and just east of here, the same thing was done up by Hayground Road,
Mhm.
Yeah,
where the last 100 feet or whatever
Right.
was made, you know, one way.
one way.
Right, so,
Right.
The difficulty with Willow, because I use the Gallagher's in the back, is that you cannot, when you're traveling west on the highway, you cannot see the sign. You cannot see the Willow
Yeah, it's
Road
tough.
street sign. So maybe they would have to petition to the town board, I guess, right? To make it more visible, to move it. It's the town board is the purview over that, right, Tom?
yeah, I mean, placement of the sign, the actual placement of an existing is really a judgment call, probably
Highway department.
You
highway
cannot-
department, maybe the state,
So they go through a local
Yeah,
law
state.
process.
with not with regard to the placement of the sign. Like, is it 10 feet, are you saying it's, you know,
Oh, no,
10
the
feet
actual
farther
10
back,
feet.
or
That, it's in there.
It's a
like it's
general
hard, should be closer?
can't see
yeah.
it.
Intersection, not the actual.
Yeah.
So how would we handle it? We make a recommendation and then they have to go to the town or
You know,
highway department or what? Because it's an integral part of this development.
I don't know whether it would be the town highway to make that decision or the state to make that decision. We could certainly suggest that that be reviewed by the town highway department or, the state DOT with regard to placement.
Can you
Not
make
visible, Jackie. Do you think it's being blocked?
You don't see it
Or is
because
it
it's
just
too
further-
far in.
it's
It's
too
too
far
far
in,
in
yeah.
on Willow.
I was just thinking.
So I always look for the,
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out.
Yeah.
And there's
it's not
vegetation.
vegetation, it's location.
Well, let's have Prada look at it and see if we can measure and see how far off it is.
Okay,
That might just be an email to the highway department.
Yeah.
We're doing work in that area, the applicant would be fine with moving it.
okay.
Yeah, well, it's not, that's their sign, so.
Yeah.
That's
That's
It's the
probably,
highway
Claire,
department
that's
sign.
probably right. Just start with the conversation with the highway department. They may say no problem and move it.
Right, exactly.
Move it over a little bit, yeah. There's the sign.
Because it kind of starts to turn there, and like you
Yeah.
said, it goes down, so
Yeah. So-
as soon
And
as
it
you're
may
on the
be-
property is when you
Sometimes
see
they
the
get
sign.
turned at an angle if they're hit by a truck or the wind blows. So it may be just a matter of some adjusting up there.
Right. So there'll be definitely more traffic on Willow. And we have a couple of cat crossings there. With signage. Watch cat crossing, yes, because both of those businesses have cats. And
Cats are not very good at reading signs.
No.
Those were all of the impacts that I identified. I don't know if we want
now,
Discuss further
the
transportation.
beautiful facade, I mean, that's a very large glass. Is this going to be illuminated? We do have concern about some of these glass centric buildings that are lit up at night. So I don't know what your thinking is.
I think that the applicant would be willing to adjust facades to meet.
Well, the facade is nice.
Or, adjust illumination.
The interior
as you
We're
say.
just
Yeah.
worried about
Interior
interior
illumination.
staying on after hours.
It has to be 0 lumens at lot line. So.
Yes.
Yeah, and they've provided all of that with the lighting plan, which we could look at the next phase.
Have we accounted for a monument sign here of some kind? You're gonna have one or two tenants in here?
So it's envisioned as one tenant. Again, it hasn't quite been worked out who the tenants would be. So we're providing signage just as a placeholder, knowing we have to come back once they have an established tenant, whether they want to go to ZBA for a monument or just keep it as the building sign. It's not unclear at this time. They just know it wants to be medical general, and they are in talks with Mount Sinai.
So you put a condition in your site plan approval that
Yeah.
future signage should be reviewed
Yeah.
by the board.
But given its location and visibility, I don't even know if a monument is 100% required.
Well, yeah, if you're having one tenant, not.
Yeah, I would say,
But you only want signage on the building.
yes. Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
But did we require a street tree here or two?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to look at that now or after, but they submitted a landscape plan with a couple of street trees along Montauk Highway in addition to the existing trees, as well as street trees here. They have everything, low plantings here with I think a tree back here and then screening all along here. I think what we'll want to look at a little more closer is this area, screening the parking a little bit more with evergreens or like a 4-foot evergreen. And then maybe a little bit more rhythm with the street trees. I think that's what I found so far.
And again, the exit here is not going to conflict with the exit on the property across the street?
If I remember, you said that the intent was to align them,
They are aligned with the existing condition. We were unaware of a dispensary application.
but they
I don't know
came
if
in
that's-
after the fact,
yeah,
and
we-
I think they're proposing their entry now further down Willow. So
Anthony, is that your application? Are they going to redevelop that site?
Well, they're maintaining that.
Well, they're
that
going to
building.
take down the little
Yeah, they can
building.
keep that,
Yeah.
but-
Are you worried?
Like
You worried
what?
about them aligning, or you prefer it, or?
What's best, Tom, in terms of that they should align or not align?
I think if they align, it's similar to a traditional intersection.
Correct.
Squared up each way.
So there's an existing curb cut on Montauk Highway, and then they're changing the other one. As you can see.
Oh, yeah, it looks like it's further back, for sure.
It's further back for sure. And
It's way
where is
back.
yours going into relation to this roughly?
Ours is, let's see, where's the existing?
There's
Like probably, that's Montauk.
Existing is probably
Oh,
right around.
existing's like right here, yeah. So they're proposing the existing is here, they're proposing something more like here.
Well, if we do want to line them up, is that the best practice? To line them up?
I would think so.
Then, can we recommend that to your applicant?
The one with dispensary.
Yeah,
If I remember correctly, part of the issue was trying to utilize this existing access so close to the building was an issue, I think, when they said it last time. See, it goes right here.
I thought they were proposing a newer cut closer, further north to access the rear parking lot. No?
Yeah, back here is where they're doing
Yeah.
it. That's,
so they'll close up the other one.
This one gets closed off.
Yeah.
So is there
So
a way?
what we're saying is the two between this site and this site are not lined up.
They're not lined up now, but we can
Well, we're gonna tell both of them to line it up.
tell
Can
on
they
it
have a
up.
conversation?
We're
Yes.
gonna move them anyway.
Maybe one moves it 50 feet, the other one moves it 50 feet. We'll see what we
Right.
can do from there. They both have the ability to do it.
Like, compromise a little bit.
No, it should kind of go that way. I think
Keep
this
ours.
one,
Is it better?
the further away from the intersection makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But we can look at it. This is a planning thing during the process.
Okay.
For both. Okay.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Good.
So I have it written, in the part 3, I have it written as a negative, declaration with no significant adverse impacts, to the environment.
So that's the one resolution.
That's the one resolution, so lead agency, I think it was the very first page was the first resolution, and that's for the adoption of lead agency and a negative declaration. And if the board is comfortable adopting that, I have, the second one, which is at the very end, which would deem it complete and we could set the hearing.
So 2 actions.
Two-
Okay,
two-
so the
two
first one
is-
is to declare lead agency
And negative.
and a negative declaration.
I'll move
Okay,
that.
so motion by Dennis, second by Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. And the second action is to
Are you okay with this?
Deem the application.
deem the
complete.
activation complete and set a public hearing.
What's your hearing date?
Oh, February 13th? Yeah, we can make
Is
that
that
work.
enough, or do you want it later?
What is the,
That's our 30-day standard.
yeah, what is, any more documents or anything that needs to happen, or we just, come back with the documents we have?
Yeah, this
Yep.
is all,
And that's
that
fine.
way we could just have the hearing and then go into site.
So you're okay for Feb.
Just
13th?
do your posting and everything, you know, the whole
We
thing.
can make that work.
Yep,
Yeah.
okay, so deem it complete and set a public hearing for Feb. 13, motion by Tom, second by Kate, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Great,
Do
thank
you want me
you.
to sign this?
Yeah, please, if you
And I will tell you the backstory about the cat crossing comment.
Listen, I love it.
I was
I'm
at
a
a
cat
DOT meeting
Yes.
talking about signage and
Yes.
safety and deer crossing signs.
Mhm.
And they relayed a story that they got a call from a resident once who asked that they move a deer crossing sign farther down the road because they didn't think that was a very safe place for the deer to cross.
That is, I've seen that.
Well, these cat crossing signs are in the property, but they're very
Tom
sweet.
already got that same question when he was on the deer management. He's like, why do they have to cross there? Can't they cross somewhere else?
They can't read the lights.
What we were doing was part of that project.
He's like, you know they can't read, right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you
Thank you,
very
Brenna. Anthony, 911 Flanders?
Yeah, they requested an extension again. Obviously, if you recall, a few months ago, we were going to do a conditional neg deck with a redesign of the site. They've been mulling it over now, and they're just going to extend it again for a determination until February 13th, 2025.
Well, should we do it for a month? I mean, more than that?
It's what they requested in writing.
Okay.
So, what we could do is, I'll advise the applicant, that, because the zoning board's doing the same thing, they just sort of keep cutting it off. So I'll ask them, they gotta give me something more realistic, so we don't keep doing this.
Yeah, I mean, we've given them how many extensions now? 5, 6, at least.
Is this the land of the Rotary?
Yes.
This is the
land of the
traffic
road.
circle in Riverside, this is the
Exactly.
7-Eleven and the gas station.
And the Flanders Road redevelopment is moving along, from what I understand, yeah. Okay, motion to extend this to Feb. 13 by Dennis, second by Kate, all in favor. Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent, to Feb. 13. Claire Araya. Aria. Welcome, David. Good, Happy New Year.
Same to you.
This was last on November 21st. We were reviewing the secret documents. We had some questions. David wanted to get you some answers. But I do have the secret documents.
Oh, these are the 3 buildings.
These are the 3 buildings, 29,000 square feet. That, and they're before the zoning board of appeals for the buildings above 15,000 square feet, building or buildings above 15,000 square feet.
But they're 3 buildings.
They're 3
But
buildings.
they're 3. But their position is that they could subdivide it into
Right.
3 lots under 30,000 square feet, 45,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So this is the site plan. just so you know that.
Yeah. And what was our conversation about? There's an issue about circulation and traffic? Claire?
Circulation traffic, so they provided a traffic, not a study, but a traffic analysis, partially performed by this gentleman here. And you had a concern because the traffic for the PM was 9.7% increase. That was something you had identified.
Concerning, right?
You identified, Kate, the appearance of the building, the natural area being retained in the fronts.
Similar to the other property next door.
And then just the size of this, I think the scale, the appearance of the building in the front was a concern. So they did go to the zoning board, ARB, so they can speak to that. So those are I kind of started to put some of those comments in the document so we can go through them. But maybe you want to just do an overview, David, or
Sure.
Yeah.
address it.
So the 2 issues that I think we're able to address easily is 1, traffic, and then 2, the appearance of the front building. We went to the ARB on Tuesday. We had some really good suggestions that we're going to incorporate. And then we're here for secret.
What'd they say?
They wanted
Here.
some changes
Mhm.
made to it, right, which we agreed to.
Yeah.
We don't have a report yet or the minutes, it was
Oh,
on
okay.
Tuesday. But again, we're here for secret. That'll all get worked out in the site plan application when we come back for site plan, so. But I think we're well on our way there. And then this is Key and Cody from R&M Engineering, and I asked them to take a look at the PM number, the one that created an issue for you, and try to drill down deeper on it to get some good information on it. And Key's prepared a report. So
I have
A
some.
supplemental report?
Yeah, I'll send a copy to you. Claire.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. That's great.
one for everyone.
I'll keep going.
We'll pass it out.
I think there's like 10 copies or something like that.
So this is same information, just supplemented
and then
as the original one?
Yeah, so this
October?
is supplemental to the document we had submitted dated October 1st.
Okay.
I believe we were here, I want to say, at the end of October, or at least I was here last, the end of October for this application. So,
Can you just give me your name for the record?
Key and Cody with R&M Engineering. Our office is at 50 Elm Street in Huntington, New York.
Okay.
So last time we were here, I know the board was concerned with the relative increase in traffic on the road. Now, when we originally did the trip generation, we had done it with one of the most intense land use codes we could use for an industrial building, which is specialty trade contractor, which really usually only applies to like a 3,000, 4,000 square foot, single office building where it's a carpenter or something like that operating out of that. It's more of a smaller size. So I redid the analysis just to do a comparison, and I presented it with land use code 110, which is general light industrial, which is sort of the catch-all general industrial land use code. And it essentially halves the industrial trip generation. And what it does when added with the medical office trip generation, you end up going from that 77 number during the peak hour down to 51 trips. And now during the PM period, there's about 795 vehicles on the road based off the most recent data taken from the state's count stations nearby. The nearest one's pretty far to the east, so it might not be as reflective. It might actually be a higher traffic. But realistically, going from 77 to 51 brings the overall relative increase to 6.4% instead, and that's using a more probably normal land use code than the specialized specialty trade contractor land use code. And that's just an increase of 795 to 846 vehicles. Realistically, Montauk Highway in this segment looks like it doesn't get that much traffic, so no matter what number we say, it's always going to be, in terms of a relative increase, the smaller the traffic number is that's on the road, the bigger the percent sounds like. So you can have a low a low amount of traffic traveling on the road. So let's say you have like 300 cars traveling on the road, and you're only adding 10 cars, but it's still going to be a more significant increase percentage-wise than you think.
So can I just ask you why you would change the classification to get a lower number?
We originally, I believe it's a vanilla box industrial use, so they weren't sure what to do it as. We had originally run it as the most conservative use to give the biggest number, and that allows us to show. Oh, let me start. For secret, you need to determine a significant impact.
Exactly.
For traffic, the general standard that denotes a significant increase in traffic is 100%. Is a 100 trip increase during a peak hour. So we were at 77 with the most conservative use, which to us denotes not a significant increase in traffic. With the more standard general light industrial use, we go down to a 51 trip increase, which is half of what we considered a significant increase. In addition, I did a quick traffic capacity analysis using the state data and our trip generation. What that is I put the numbers into the highway capacity software, which uses the highway capacity manual to essentially give a number of seconds in delay at the proposed driveway location. And what it turned out with was using the more intense land use code for the specialty trade contractor. The only delays on Montauk Highway we'd be looking at, which would be the left turn going into the site, because any right turn off of Montauk Highway is a zero impact movement, because when you make a right, all you do is sort of slow down and then turn your right in. And then any other delays would be contained at the driveway on the property and wouldn't affect the operation of Montauk Highway, as people would be waiting to make their left until there's adequate room on the road for them. So the only impact would be that eastbound left turn, which based off the capacity analysis would be 8.4 seconds. So you'd only be looking at, if you were sitting there and making the left, on average you'd be waiting 8 seconds to make your left.
Can I have just for a moment, is light industrial even allowed in the HB zone?
I believe it's just a warehousing, and that's sort of the catch-all. If I did it as warehousing, which I did provide in the report, warehousing only amounts to about 3 or 4 trips in an hour, and that's, as it's written on the plan, is warehousing.
So what is the intended use? Is it a specialty trade contractor, a warehouse, a light industrial use? Because we have to make sure that what you're proposing for your traffic calculations is the use that's intended and going to be executed, and also meets the zoning code.
Right. Well, I guess I'll take it last to first, right? The zoning code doesn't necessarily meet the traffic codes, right? So the wordage can sound similar but be different. We're proposing warehousing, which is permitted in the HB district, right? I believe what Keem was saying is we use the most intense use to show that it wouldn't approach being a substantial adverse impact to the road system. So that's how we did it. I can't tell you today who's going to lease this building. I mean, we're not close to having a date that we could actually build it, right? We're still going through this process.
Right, but your analysis had good methodology the first time around, which is what you're saying, right, Tom? Which is use the most intense for the worst case scenario. and now we're looking at something that's.
Well, I ran the analysis for both the worst case and the general light industrial. I just felt general light industrial because I just wanted to point out the relative impact and how even just changing number by 15, 20 cars drops that 9 down to a 6. It's a relative percent increase, and because there's so little traffic on the road, it's adding 1 car adds, a significant increase in that number, even though realistically, when you're driving, it's not that many more cars.
But it could be a special trade contractor.
It could be.
It could be,
And
and
so then.
I defer to Tom, but I
Oh,
just
you-
want to.
you can
My
s-
head was.
If I could
spinning
just
on that.
jump in for a second, the concern here was the 9.6% added, which
Traffic.
I think,
Right.
well, but I don't think you're looking at it in a way that.
I can put it this way:
In the
for
right
even if you were to make that left turn, that's the major movement that's being affected. We'd estimate using the more intense land use code. That's 48 left turns during that exiting, and that's during the peak AM period. That's when the most people are going to come into that left. If I say 60% of that left turn is coming in, that's about 30 vehicles. That's 1 vehicle every 2 minutes making that left. Based off the analysis, a person making that left should only have to wait about 8 to 9 seconds. So you're not going to have a vehicle there for 80, 90% of the time. There's also substantial shoulders on both sides of Montauk Highway at that point, and I know, you're not really supposed to, but everyone does it when someone's making a left and there's space to go around them, you will just go around them. It shouldn't really impact Montauk Highway in any meaningful way.
Is Montauk Highway at that point the standard width of Montauk Highway?
Yeah, I think, and, kind of in my mind here, and I'm hearing your argument, which, clearly the point is try to kind of lessen the impact of, what was presented last time. So if, in my mind, and sitting here looking at this, if you split the difference between specialty trade contractor, which you used originally, and general light industrial, which you used in the revise, if you split the difference, probably your growth is, 7% or 7.5% or something like that. And again, percentages go higher the
Yeah, it's
lower the
relative.
volume. That's another well-known fact. So, I look at the total volume on the road, and the capacity is, you well know, is what, 600 vehicles an hour or something on a single lane road like that. And, it looks like you're coming up with, 352 eastbound. My bottom line kind of is, I think we know most of the traffic's going to come east in the morning and, make lefts in, and then come out and make lefts out. In the afternoon, it's going to be reversed because vast majority of our business, contractors and, warehouse people and whoever else it may be are heading east in the morning and coming west in the afternoon. So kind of the safety of getting frankly, the people waiting at the driveway to get out isn't a tremendous concern of mine.
No.
My concern is, can they get in and out of there safely, as safely as possible?
Mhm.
Whether they're making the left in or they load up and do whatever they have to do and they're, making the left out. That's where, having a center turn lane would be ideal. I don't know if there's an opportunity to talk to the county about the possibility of that. That's their responsibility most likely rather than, an individual applicant's responsibility.
It's also would be, for this segment of Montauk Highway, there's a good number of properties on that north side of the road, including, Bordy Barn and a couple other things. I don't believe any of them have left turn lanes.
No, but what we've seen happen, we've seen it on Montauk Highway, we've seen it on County Road 39. Eventually the state of the county come in and add a center turn lane because so many businesses have developed, and you guys are kind of, there's one of the ones, there's a few left to be developed, but it's almost, maxed out. So at some point, I think they're probably going to come in and say, we need a left turn lane or a center turn lane. That's what's happened everywhere else. And again, I don't know if it's really your folks' responsibility, but I think this is maybe something that, maybe a discussion with the county, should start to be initiated with regard to the need for a center turn lane on Montauk Highway in Hampton Bays. So,
That's county.
So-
but that's a county road,
It's a county.
right? And that, I know, goes a little beyond the reason you're here today.
Well, we have through Keen's firm connections with the county, and we can inquire.
Right, right.
It'd be helpful for that entire strip, so we're
Right.
happy to do that.
And, you know, it might be something that,
So,
we can look at that whole corridor, the town can look at that whole corridor, maybe
No.
something the town has to get behind and help support too.
Now, there are residential properties on the south. If you would like us to inquire with the county, would you want it to be a standard left turn lane, or would you like it to be like a two-way left turn lane, where it's the median and it provides both left turns in either direction?
That, right,
There's only enough room for a standard.
That's what, that's, for instance, in Hampton Bays further on in Montauk Highway, that's what you have for a good portion of it east of Riverhead, of Hampton Bays Riverhead Road. There's a two-way left turn lane. I want to say maybe 2,000 feet from that intersection to the east.
right, right. You know, I think that's a good question, and I imagine they look at each section and say, we need just a left turn lane in this part, but here we need, you know, a dual left, you know. Yeah, you know, that's a good thought, and I think if, you know, a few folks, you know,
We're happy to
Alex
reach out.
Brago and the other people at Suffolk County DPW to maybe have that with, and maybe the town should jump on board with it. You know, so anyway, back to your individual application.
I will say, just before we move on, when I did do the analysis as it is right now, and it did result in that it's a level surface of A for that left turn, just in the
Getting
getting into the site.
Into the site,
Yeah.
right, okay. Oh, it's okay.
So it is already seemingly a low level of delay for that left turn because there's not a large
There's not a
amount
lot of westbound traffic.
yeah oncoming traffic.
Right, okay, that makes sense. Getting out of
I
there may
do.
be a little when I said I don't care how
Yeah.
long they have to wait, I don't mean that
Even that
in that way,
yeah.
but it means that, you know, they're having
Inside the
to get
property.
across 2 lanes of traffic.
Even the southbound left turn, we only had a delay of about 15 or 16 seconds
Okay,
for both. I did it as one shared left and right turn lane.
right,
I mean,
Okay.
the biggest turnoff there is Jones Road, if you know the area, which is the entry to Diana Shores. And I don't, you know, the cars are stacked right in the travel lane. Go,
right, and as you said, everybody
Yeah,
does that.
I know. I don't
actually
want
know
to.
someone that got a ticket for doing that. It's probably the only
Obviously, I
ticket issue.
would recommend people do that.
Right.
But you know, we have to face the reality of what people do and try to design with that in mind.
Right.
And there's good line of sight here.
Yes, we went over this previously. It's a pretty straight section of Montauk Highway, and the sight lines to both distances
Yeah,
should
it
be
is.
fine.
And you know, back to the site plan, the kind of uses, you know, we don't anticipate tractor trailers, heavy duty.
No.
It would be vans and box trucks, kind of.
They also
smaller.
they don't need a parking variance, and they're by IT standards they're exceeding the parking required by twice as much as what they need.
Right. Just again, I'm thinking a tractor trailer is pulling out is a little more problematic than
Yeah.
a van pulling out. You know,
Yeah, it's
or
an extra few seconds on the critical headway
Right.
delay.
right, and squeezing themselves in.
Yeah.
So along that site plan situation, where you have 3 buildings, each 10,000 square feet, is it almost?
The one warehouse is 7, one is 12, and then the medical office is 5 with 2 stories.
Okay, so what do you anticipate, David, this question is for you, how many businesses are going to be occupying and using each building?
That's impossible to guess at, right?
Well, it has, I know it is, but it has a bearing to us in terms of amount of traffic, amount of vehicles. You know, we can't operate in the blind, and give an approval to something that we're thinking of as going to be quite benign, when in fact it turns out to be not benign.
But isn't it the use, right? I mean, it's self-limiting.
But
The
you
office use is the office use. If you have
But you have
3
special trade,
doctors
you have
or-
special trade
Well, I'm
contractors.
starting with one building and then I can work my way back with
Yep.
an explanation, right? But I can't tell you how many doctors are in there, 3, 5, 7, I've got no idea.
And that building is the front building?
That's
Yes.
the front building. And then as you come back, you have warehousing, right? That's self-limiting by the code. So if you have a special trade contractor, you have X amount of space that you can rent to them and then X amount of parking. You can't exceed that. So based on the square footage,
What would you
in the
estimate?
parking.
How many for that middle
With the
building?
middle building, 4, maybe.
Yeah, it's, if you do like a 5,000 square foot tenant space, you get 2.5.
So 4.
No, I mean, at
4
a,
for
at
the
a
middle
lower,
building. Well,
Let's
give or
say
take.
4 at, what's it, 12?
Yeah, it's about 13,000.
3,000 square feet apiece, the max you can get is probably 4.
4, and then the last
Oh, there's
building?
7,000, so maybe 2 or 3.
So you have 4 and 3, 7. 7 businesses, plus the medical facility, and you don't know how many people are going to be operating there.
It could be
It-
1.
it
Seems
is
like
also-
the hospitals are all, conversion and taking over these practices, so you end up with 1 in there.
Medical offices are also self-limiting in that, you can only have so many doctors in the office and they can only field so many patients at once. So there
So
is,
what do you think the maximum would be in terms
in
of?
a medical office like that, I mean, I can only go off, my trip generation for medical office estimates, let's see, 38 peak hour trips, and that's 12 entering and 26 exiting. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's for the specialty trade contract. 39 peak hour trips, 12, and then 27. So let's say you go in and come out, let's say so half that if your appointment's less than an hour, 20 patients in an hour. So if you have 10 doctors maybe, see 2 patients an hour.
Okay, so when I look at this, and I don't quite understand the actual detail of your traffic report, I look at it as intensity of use. And we have 7 businesses that could be operating here without the medical, 10 doctors. That's a lot of activity. It's a lot of vehicles coming and going in an already dense area. I just want you to know that we're paying particular attention to traffic these days because that's one of the single biggest problems this community is facing in terms of safety and economic resources, because we can't get people here because of the traffic. So if we're approving something in the blind of not knowing how many businesses are going to be coming here and giving sort of a broad estimate guess of 4 plus 3 is 7 plus 10 doctors, it's intense. So my question, bottom line, more basic, is, has there been some consideration to reduce the size of these buildings?
I'm not the same.
I'll
David.
answer, yeah, there hasn't been any consideration. When you say it's too intense, I say no, that's not true. We meet zoning, right? If we didn't meet zoning, then it would be too intense. This lot could be used in a far more intense manner than was proposed before you.
If you subdivide it.
If I subdivide it,
Right.
correct.
So
And I have a
maybe you should
plan.
go that route. You
I
have a plan.
Well, why would you ask for 45,000 square feet when you're getting 29? That makes 0 sense to me. If you ask this landowner to go through the subdivision process, you're gonna get the 45,000 square feet because he's losing time and he's making all the effort for that. And I just don't understand in the context of this conversation why you would do that.
My question
Why you would
is,
say that, because you're
my
like
question
threatening
is-
me, do
my-
that or
my
reduce the
question is
size
this,
of it.
David. This is an intense use. There's a lot of vehicles, a lot of traffic. We're looking at traffic. It's a major ingredient in all of our applications, every application that we're looking at. We're asking for traffic studies, traffic evaluation. We have to do something, whatever we can, from a planning standpoint.
I think we can do that during the secret process if we just give it a positive
Pos dec,
declaration. There's
yeah.
too many
Well, but
considerations
wait a
still
second.
open,
That's
and
just-
we need to coordinate with
That should,
Suffolk County to answer
You're-
those questions on the traffic.
First-
get
first
their
of
opinion.
all-
It's their road.
you have evidence before you in 2 reports that there is a very little impact from the traffic on this. And what you need to uphold the POS deck is a substantial adverse change. And that's not happening here. So,
It's a
so the POS deck,
potential
you are
adverse
using
impact.
secra as a sword, not a shield. That's, if, that's,
Not
a-
true.
it is.
It's not the
It
purpose
is,
of
we've
secret.
demonstrated,
It's not the purpose of secret on the record.
it is.
The
It
No,
is
purpose
not.
of secra is
is
to
to protect
examine
the
a
environment, not to
potential-
use it as a sword.
potential
You're using it as a
environmental
sword.
impact.
You have evidence in front of you that the traffic is very little impact here. Read it. You don't have the evidence to support a POS deck. And I'd say to you, I was in here, 2 months ago on the diner? That was a neg deck. That has far worse traffic impacts than this use. I mean, that's completely
The diner on
inconsistent
Flying
and
Point?
irrational.
The diner on Flying Point Road?
No, the diner in Hampton
Hampton
Bays,
Bays.
right down the road.
The medical building.
The medical buildings.
Yeah.
2 medical
Diner
buildings, yeah.
property.
This project complies with zoning. In fact, it's under the zoning intensity. So if we're unhappy with the zoning code, our remedy is to go to the town board. 15,000 square foot buildings don't work in the highway business, then they should be 12,000. But you can't,
Well,
you
we
can't-
do
you
have
can't
a,
legislate zoning changes.
we
on
do
an
have
application.
highway business, 15,000 square foot limit.
Right, and that's what they're coming
But there are
in.
3 of them.
Yeah, they're coming, instead of 45,000, they're coming in with, 20?
And
29.
that project is at a signaled intersection with potential for a roundabout to address traffic flow. Here we have an unsignaled area with a large amount of traffic. From what I understood from your first traffic study, our expert on traffic and transportation was concerned. The traffic study that's come back, these modifications,
Well, I didn't
are
modify.
kind of like a
They're not really
back
modifications.
pedal to my mind.
I haven't backpedaled because I did the analysis with both land use codes that I presented. So
Tom, as our resident expert on this, I want to lean on you to put you on the spot to say, where do you think this lands? Because if we're looking at the traffic study and we still have some major questions about whether a turn lane would have to be put in, that is a potential significant impact in transportation, which would require a positive declaration and a coordinated look through SECR. That's the tool, not a sword, a tool for us to do our job while you do your job. And our jobs are conflicting now. That's
Wait,
all that it is.
Except you have no evidence to support your position, and I've got expert testimony.
I'm asking our expert.
Well,
on that.
he's not an expert. I mean, you are very, very knowledgeable,
not.
very, very knowledgeable. But are you a traffic engineer now? So
I
you,
passed
what
the
you
test.
did
Could we hire a traffic engineer?
You could hire a traffic. If you thought
I'm
this
just saying, if
was
we
your
have so many
only
questions, we
issue,
can't just say fine
Right.
negative declaration.
if the board feels that this is the only issue, in the past, we have obviously taken the traffic information and had someone review traffic analysis, traffic studies, whatever the level, because I'm not an expert either, so I can't give you advice on that. So you could do that if you thought that was your only issue. I'm hearing from 2 board members right now that they feel that there is more than one issue though on this. Traffic, definitely, but other issues, maybe intensity, which would be community character and zoning. I'm hearing Dennis is not concerned related to that. I need
We
to
have
know
a
from the
code,
board.
we have a zoning code.
Yes.
We're not a legislative board. We want to be legislators, and here we go, legislating.
We have
Let's
enough.
change the code, let's bring it down to 10,000, 12,000, 10,000. Let's limit uses. But we're the keepers of the code. Here's an application comes in under the code, and we say, too intense.
Okay, let's look at another tool. What, is any cross-access could alleviate any of this, do you think? Is there any cross-access secured by the
I
adjoining
think
Are they
there
property?
is.
contiguous, or is that a strip next to, I can't, there's a puppy bongo right there.
Yes.
right? I mean, we should maybe get a traffic,
Yes,
someone to look over the traffic.
you could
That's
definitely.
typically
Yeah, I
what we
mean,
do.
the decision that's in front of us right now is positive or negative declaration in SECR.
Right.
And my job, as I understand it, related to SECR, is if there are a number of questions open on the table, we can't just rubber stamp a negative declaration today. So we have to get those questions answered,
Right.
or give it a positive declaration and run it through a process that gets those questions answered. So
So
that's.
let's, yeah.
Couldn't
Let-
be-
let's
I'm
get
not
it-
saying
yeah, no.
we're
Clear.
changing the zoning code. I'm saying we have a decision in front of us and that we
Yeah.
can't make the one decision. I can't make that one decision. without having those questions
It's very
answered,
technical.
one way or the other.
Let's get a technician in,
So
as we typically do.
I have a question on the table about cross-access.
I believe I'm not quite sure, I don't know if John remembers. If Puppy Mongo had a future cross-access to the east.
We're willing to give cross-access. We own the property
Yeah.
to the east and to this lot. We're happy to do that.
It runs along back, right, along the railroad track.
I
Is
can't remember,
cross-access-
it might have been just
Did you
general.
accommodate cross-access in this, David? Did you
No, they-
accommodate?
They put it back there, but again, it's secret, not the site plan, so we're happy to offer that now and we'll have it in.
So that would address
Site plan.
potential, like keeping a full buffer and then just having cross-access instead of the curb cut.
Well, if we can circulate traffic behind these properties to a signal, to a one single access point,
The nearest
which is what we're
signal-
trying to do with cross-access,
The
you
nearest
know?
signal's all the way to the east. It's like,
The Stop and Shop.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
1,000,
Yeah.
2,000 feet away.
It's the key, it's this wildlife nature, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that comes
Right.
in, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can I ask you another question? I'm, kind of going back, looking at your estimates, and you have the square footage. Now, there's 3 buildings. I see, your examples use the 2 estimates, the warehousing, housing, general light industrial.
Yes.
So you've kind of divided up the square footage of 3 buildings into the 2 uses, or?
Yeah, I did the medical office as 10,000 square feet, and then the 2 as the 19,000
So
square feet.
so because you have the medical office at the bottom of page 1, but it's also included there in your calculation for in the middle of page 2?
Yes.
Okay, so.
I showed the original totals with the specialty trade contractor, and then I showed the totals using use code 110, which is the general light industrial, to show the 26 strip decrease.
So you have the warehousing,
The warehousing was
general
just to
light,
show.
and the medical.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, and I don't know if this is possible. The 3 buildings, is there a way to build them or organize them or show the uses in such a way that instead of whatever ratio you're using right now of medical office, warehousing, and general light, change the ratio?
No.
Have more medical and less, of something else, or more warehouse and less of one or the other?
Medical would be the most intense of the 3 of those uses. I don't think you'd want more medical.
Right. I'm saying kind of change, and I don't know from, private owner perspective, say, no, I need to rent this much medical space and I need to rent this much warehouse space at such a rate. But is there a way to change those ratios a little bit and say, okay, we'll do more warehouse and less light industrial, to make it a lighter traffic flow?
In the report, I'm either doing the site all as specialty trade contract, all as light industrial, or all as warehousing, not a mix.
Okay. Oh, they're not a mix.
No, it's medical office and then one of the 3 industrial land use codes.
Okay.
If I ran it as warehousing's in terms of the ITE, it's a very low generated use because warehouses are used to store goods. So you don't get a lot of traffic associated with them. You get deliveries and that's about it.
So 1.5 buildings be warehouse, the other half be specialty trade or light industrial, and then the third would be medical. I don't know if that's a possibility.
Well, I mean, you don't know who the tenants
Well,
are in
that's
advance,
always
right?
our conundrum. We don't know who's going to go in.
Right.
They
Well,
can't predict
one of the
it.
things
They
that-
just want to develop
You
the
build the
buildings.
specs, but you.
Yeah, but it puts us in a sort of a blind spot. And that's
Except-
what's
Well,
frustrating for us.
that's why I provided the 3 different land uses and showed that even with the most intense version of the land use, we'd still be under the 100 trips that is typically considered the significant increase. That's why I originally went with that special trade contractor use. And in this secondary report, I do show even with the specialty trade contractor use, the delays on Montauk Highway are still levels of service of A, meaning it's the highest level of service, the lowest level of delay.
Well, I guess angling for is to have a traffic consultant take a look at it.
Yeah,
Okay,
typically that would do.
I get some estimates
We're not
for the next
getting
meeting,
anywhere.
and then you can,
And,
you know.
and I just want to ask about any other existing cross-access in the rear of these buildings. They'll provide one? They're agreeable to do that?
On our lot, and then the lot next door.
Then it would be
Which one,
future
Dave?
cross-access
Which
to the east.
The one to the west, we don't own the one that's to our east.
It's that thin one that's been used as a contractor, but
Oh,
we,
right,
we
yeah.
really didn't.
I thought there was a little strip. That was one of the few
Oh, that
times.
funny little strip? Who
Doesn't,
owns
it's
that?
only 66 feet wide, so they cannot turn vehicles where,
That was,
they actually back the vehicles in.
Oh,
It's
my
incredible.
what are they
I
using?
need- I need to
Is
get
are they doing
violation.
landscaping?
Yeah, that's,
Like a landscaping?
that's good
I'm
for
giving them
traffic
a violation
flow.
tomorrow.
Right.
They back vehicles in.
Because I remember that was one of the few applications where we denied based on special perception
Couldn't do it.
standards.
We couldn't do it. They
Yeah.
couldn't turn around.
But is that your property?
No.
No.
It's a
Separate?
landscaping business.
They went in anyway, without approvals.
And those two large vacant parcels?
How come it's every
They only
day?
allow you to
That
say
just
planning
went blank.
board for so long.
It's every day.
That's
Every
a
planning
doubt.
board at 3:30.
That's a
And
goal.
so, Jackie, just so you know, of those two parcels, the larger one is the one for which we had, we did a pre-application on a battery storage facility. if you recall.
Oh,
Yeah.
No,
okay.
that's
The
right.
RTW, old
Oh,
RTW,
yeah.
but yeah.
All right. Okay, so
Is that, if
thanks for hanging in with us during this conversation. We're trying to do our job
I think,
as you are doing yours. So-
in my opinion, but I want to confirm this with all the board members, if the traffic is resolved, obviously we can have the front buffer with the
Cross-access.
natural vegetation. The appearance of the building is obviously through the site plan approval. They have to, you're gonna have some standards. Do you feel that the other issues have been resolved?
Right, and I also am interested in the allocation of the uses, whether warehousing, special trade contractor, medical, that Tom talked about. Perhaps there's a refining of those.
I can talk to the property owners about,
Right,
about splitting up the interior of the buildings. and-
yeah.
and
I think
stuff.
that'll have an impact on the number of vehicles.
But I'm guessing the medical office is gonna command a certain square footage just by virtue of its function.
For what they do.
Yeah, for what they do.
And that's the most, as you said, it's the most intense.
Most intense,
Yeah.
right. Special trade contractor is
One of the most intense.
the second, more than the medical?
They're about even, but I believe, per square feet, medical office is going to be more.
Right.
The
Warehouse is less, that's the
warehouse is,
least.
yes,
'Cause-
warehouse is the least. That's why I tried to show the middle ground, which
Yeah.
is that general light industrial, which is most likely what it will fall in between. And that's why I showed that as it's somewhere between warehousing, which generates only 2 or 3 for every 20,000 square feet, versus specialty trade contract, which is for the roughly 20,000 square feet, was about 39, 38 trips. And then general light industrial, which is general, so it's sort of the catch-all industrial, generated in the 20 range, 15, 20.
Got it, I understand what you did, thank you.
Yeah, I tried to show the different intensities of industrial because we do not know the tenants, so I tried to give the spectrum.
It's
I
so hard.
appreciate your efforts,
Yes.
once again,
Thank you.
appreciate your efforts. And,
Okay,
if you have a conversation with the county, again, this is going
that
beyond
too,
your particular application, but I would suspect we might be able to get the town to support the installation of a center turn lane along that corridor.
particularly along that court, particularly.
We've supported it in other locations that, to help encourage.
I
the
can't say off the top of my head what the minimum lane width would be, but I do believe the two shoulders are about 8 feet currently. So you have about 16 feet to work with. Obviously, standard lane width's 12 feet. So
Center lane is 12?
a standard lane is 12 feet. So
Okay.
a two-way left turn lane, you could probably get away with 10 to 12 feet. So I'd say there might be room. It's just up to the county. It's not, the
Yeah.
town's road or.
We worked with, the state in Watermill and, in other locations. And, it wasn't ideal because you've got the shoulder, which is to some different engineering specs than the through
Yes,
lanes,
yeah.
as you know. It wasn't ideal, but they were able to accommodate us and, accommodate
Yes,
and
it's so,
get it done.
yeah. Obviously, it's not up to me. It's up to the county.
But maybe we all should start the conversation.
Having another pair of eyes, an expert on your behalf, is
Right.
gonna be great.
Right.
Yep.
That's a good idea.
Okay,
Okay.
good, excellent. So I'll get some, I'll probably have the estimates for the next time.
Do you have it next time?
23rd. Yeah, I think we can turn this around since I have something for them to even take a peek at.
123, Claire?
123, yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, David.
Yes. Thanks again. Thank you.
Claire,
Tell you the story.
NLP Holding Subdivision, did we do this?
The NRP, yes.
We did it.
Yes, that's the pre-app
Okay.
you adopted.
So Seth, you have John Galt.
Good afternoon.
So Claire, that's true of 13, 14 as well, right?
Yep, we
Yeah.
had done this, yep.
This one will be a little simpler.
You sure?
Hope so.
It's a kiss of death. Kiss of death.
So we're looking at 478 Loper's Path. It's a covenant amendment. This parcel was subdivided once as Charles Vanderveer back in '87. Then it was re-subdivided as John Galt's in 2018. During that process, a few covenants and restrictions were laid out. In particular, a single common access point to Daylily, and maintenance requirements for said common driveway. The applicant has come in and requested to amend those covenants so that they are not required to maintain the common driveway. As you see in the draft resolution, we first had the attorney look at it, and then we decided that the best approach would be to have a public hearing on the matter and make sure that the neighbors weren't going to be left in the lurch. We had that public hearing, no comment was received, and no written comments were received during that period, the 10-day period as well. So it is before you again. Nothing's changed. I can tell you that another one of the parcels has been relieved of that restrictive covenant as well. I can also tell you that this parcel never used the common driveway, so it seems to make sense. It's a vestige of the old subdivision rules.
So our action is to amend
To allow for the amendment
of the covenant.
Yes.
Does the
precisely.
covenant require majority plus one?
It actually does, yes.
You got it?
Yeah, we've
You
got it. We've
Okay.
got it, okay. Motion,
Okay.
any discussion on this?
Nope.
Motion by Dennis, seconded by Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
5 in favor, 2 absent.
Great, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you. That was
you.
easy.
Claire, you have A&E Club Properties?
Yes. So, I don't know, is there anybody here for Amy's Club Properties? Oh, hi, how are you? Sorry, you were here reading the whole time. I do have a decision for you, so that's good. There's some conditions that are related to this.
Okay.
So here's the copy for you. If you don't mind, copies Linda. So the situation is, and the board might remember, about maybe a year ago, A&E Club is at the end. It's at 231 Mid-Ocean Road. It is a beach club, and it's got the tennis courts and the pool and such. It is, on the beach, so on the ocean, and it does have Sam's Creek behind it, so there's wetlands considerations. So something that usually could maybe be handled administratively does need, sorry, you have to pull it from the, yeah.
There's a wetlands.
Would need wetlands permit too. So just to give you some history, the tennis court in this corner, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, came in for the change from the tennis court to pickleball court. It was within the 145. There's an existing non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer on the property that Marty's been involved with and is in place. This would be, and it's not shown on this plan, but there's the details. Just to the west of the pickleball court, they want to make a padel courts.
Well, that's the newest thing.
Yes, it's not paddle there, right?
Justin Kwasnick, Laurel Tennis and Sports.
Okay,
Tell me again. Give me your name.
Justin Kwasnick. Everywhere but America, it's paddle. In America, it's padel for some reason. I don't have a good explanation.
It's the same as paddle court.
It's a paddle court, right?
Because we have a paddle court in Bridgehampton, at the right behind on Ocean Road, right attached to the golf course.
Oh, okay. With the walls.
That's
Yes,
a race.
that's
It's a race.
right. And very specific lighting and because
Professional
people
league.
play at night.
Right? It's on TV. It's
The hot new thing.
yeah.
So, I got a referral from Marty. It's attached, and the fire marshal who had no issues. Marty has some conditions. I've just put them into the documents, so we can just kind of go through them if you're comfortable with that. I'll explain them as we go through them.
Yeah.
Just a couple cleanup things, just notations. Should refer to the latest surveys. Number 1. Number 2. Note the setback on the survey. Have the padel court shown on here and the setback, which is probably about 145 or 150 for the wetlands. So he's suggesting, because of the existing conditions with the runoff from the clay courts, that there be a trench drain right here, which I guess is only like this wide, but he'd like a design, and then we just double check it, and then you can install it at the same time you're doing the tennis court.
So
the padel court.
The existing conditions, these courts are sloped away.
Oh, this way.
Yes,
Perfect.
and there is a trench drain existing on that side of the court.
Okay, so this
in
side.
the walkway,
In
right?
the middle of the walkway?
In the walkway here between the courts.
Perfect. So can you just show that, and then we'll just double
Sure.
check that with him. I'm going to leave it like that, but we'll just go from there. If the board's good with that. Okay. And then there's some debris there, so that's the removal. So the amended covenant is not to increase the buffer, but to just recognize that the wetlands line has changed. So this is like a snapshot of the wetlands line being changed. So they're asking for an amended covenants for that. So we'll give you some documents to just do it. It just have to be filed, obviously, with the court of the county. So that's the condition related to that. And then so in the last question thing, number 4 was that there's an existing connection. Are you showing that on the aerial?
Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, yeah, bring the aerial up. There's an existing connection with the town beach to the west. They were just concerned that's been used, by the club on the town beach. Obviously, the town beach can only be used for town beach purposes, anything else. So that's just double checking with town parks and rec about any connection. It's labeled as emergency access, which is fine from my point of view. But I said any use of the emergency access shall be subject to permission from the town parks and recreation departments. So.
I believe Evan is working on getting that
we've
formalized.
opened Evan Tiska. I work as a property manager for the club.
Okay.
We've opened a dialogue with them.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. We just want to make sure that's done.
I mean, it's strictly for transporting lifeguard emergency equipment, which is why it was made. The emergency access path was written into our wetlands revegetation, I think, with Marty in 2015.
Oh, I see.
So it connects to that gate
Okay.
there, and we just use that like 40 feet of Mecox back parking lot to get to the 4x4 access to get to our beach.
Okay.
And it's, that we've done that for, I would think, 20 years under their purview without a problem. So
Okay, so I did speak to her, the head of parks, and she seemed to be fine with it. So, but we just want to make sure that Marty brought up as an issue that you're aware of it, and just.
Should it say any routine or regular use of the emergency access? Because obviously, if it's there for emergency access.
yeah, it's just for the lifeguard transporting the equipment.
I could say that. Any routine? I don't know. I just
don't
don't want
wanna
to. I don't want to
do
give
that.
any rights of the town away.
Okay.
That's their.
Okay.
We're pointing them in the right direction of who to talk to.
Leave it up to, okay.
Yeah. So then no disturbance of the non-disturbance buffer, of course, compliance with the fire marshal, and then affidavit, 6 sets of plans.
Do we want any requirements for this Padel paddle court? I mean, since we already have a history with the Bridgehampton Golf Club, no night lights. I mean, you know,
We could say no night lights.
if you could check on that. I don't know when we reviewed that, sometime back.
It's been a while.
Been a while.
Yeah, we have no lights proposed for this.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's a standard.
It's just like we do deer fences and
Understood.
stuff.
Should I say no lights proposed without further review, or just say no lights proposed?
No
Okay.
lights.
There you go. Period.
And what about any kind of fencing? The paddleball is different from pickleball. I mean, these balls
So
can
there's
go
like
flying.
walls shown, right? Is this?
Do you
Yeah, so
have a
this is-
net of some-
So this is sort of a rendering of
Okay.
of the structure, and the area, the proposed area of work is actually fenced in existing. So it's converting an existing recreational tennis space, removing the Hartrue clay, installing this centered and with a standard, let's say gravel around the court.
Okay, perfect. I didn't see that. That's great.
So is it see-through?
Correct, yeah. So
Okay.
this area right here is all glass, and then this is essentially a wire mesh that looks similar to this
Oh, okay.
as the walls in the center. And then it's glass on the corralled on either side.
And it's got like a roof? No, it doesn't.
No,
No
Oh,
roof,
okay.
no, yeah, no
Okay.
roof. It does get slightly higher at
Looking
the
at it upside
at the sides at the back to capture the balls. But besides that, there's no roof.
And there's no like tournaments or other things envisioned.
There's only one court, so
You need multiple.
yeah,
courts for
yeah, tough
tournaments,
to
okay.
do a tournament with one court.
It's a members
Okay.
only. Members only.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Okay, so with the addition of no lighting proposed for your consideration.
I'll move it.
Any questions? Okay, motion by Dennis, second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? 5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you. Anthony? Long Island Automotive Collectors?
Yeah, you might recall, this is one where we did a site plan. Whole site plan's been done. They came in for a modification to that site plan to change the use from the storage of that building to the
Shooting.
firearm training center. We had a public hearing on December 12th. We didn't have any comments at the hearing. We got a few letters of support for the project from neighbors. So I basically just have a pretty simple resolution, since it's just a use issue, and sorry, that shading made it very dark. I didn't realize. The shading just reminds me that I have to put dates in there. So this is the
And some kind of a heading.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
yeah, I'll fix it. So the second whereas it's a modification is to change the use from a storage building to a firearms training center and includes changes to the interior of the building, but no changes to the elevations as previously approved by the planning board. And then I discussed how we discussed it. I had a hearing on December 12th. At this December 12th hearing, it was put on record by the applicant's representative that the interior renovations to the building would include retrofitting to ensure firearm sound attenuation is achieved, including the installation of soundproofing materials. That was put on the record, and they provided that data. The planning board reviewed the sound attenuation design of the building and finds the noise impacts have been mitigated in the project design, and that the project is consistent with the negative declaration that was originally issued by the planning board on May 9th, 2019. So you got to make, you don't have to do a secret here. If it was just based on this change of use, that would be a type 2 action. So you make a finding that it's consistent with the original secret findings, and then no new information was submitted that would warrant any further study. So I'm just recommending approval of the site plan of LI Long Island Automobile Collectors LLC for a change in use from a storage building to a firearms training center, and include changes to the interior of the building, but no changes to the elevations, in accordance with the undated plans prepared by Paul W. Delandro, licensed engineer, subject to the following. The plans need to be dated and re-stamped. Submission of all sound attenuation details and specifications, which I do have, by the way. I just realized before the meeting that they submitted it with the application, so I do have all the specifications. Just to that point, I don't lay out in here other than the plans that they gave us, and we want the dates, only because manufacturers could change. Sometimes this happens, so as long as we have the information as it relates to what's being installed in there, which includes the, styrofoam materials and everything. Per the original conditions of approval, landscaping around all HVAC and utilities shall be completed and inspected for compliance before a CO is issued. Number 4, per the original conditions of approval, we'll need that maintenance bond when everything's said and done, which we will do when landscaping is all done. And then 5 is the submission of the complete sets for signature. I do want to add in here as another condition, even though we said the 2 conditions from the original approval, I did want to put another one that all other conditions of the original approval dated June 25th, 2020 will remain in effect. So that way we know that we still have that other one that's approved, and that's where all the original conditions as it pertains to what's been built are there. So I'll add that in, and with that, that's all I have for this.
2020?
Yeah, we originally did it June 25th, 2020.
But it was a totally different animal.
Well, yes, it was for a different use.
But the building was different. I mean,
the building's not changing here. The interior is changing. There's no elevations changes for this site. There's no changes to the building. Everything's.
Yeah, and so the 8,000 square foot building is just being reconstructed on the inside.
That's
and
correct.
Then there's a new building that's 5,560.
so we're not dealing with the site plan here at all. This is
No
just,
changes to the site plan.
Because I don't know what. There's nothing up here. So
Well, it's there, but it can't be read. Is what the problem is. It's blacked out. But yes, there's no. This is not a. There are no other than the previous site plan, the landscaping around the HVAC.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Those original still stand, so we included them in here. So
what you're saying is all conditions of the original approval of 2020
are still in effect. And I laid out the specific ones that relates to the maintenance bond and the HVAC, because those are the 2 outstanding issues from that site plan. Yep. And they say 10 complete sets. We're going to make that 6. That's an utter waste of paper there. Make it 5.
You already have 6. We submitted 6.
Oh.
On my way in, I submitted 6 downstairs. They're dated today.
Please.
David Kirst from Matthews Kirst Cooley in Choron.
KRST.
Correct. Yeah, they're dated today, and we submitted 6 copies.
Okay. That's what I have for everybody.
Okay, so our action is to?
It's a conditional approval of the modification to the site plan of Long Island Automobile
Conditional
Collectors.
approval.
Conditional approval. Yeah, those are the conditions. Typical.
Motion by Tom, second by Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Teresa?
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. So this is CVE New York West, US, nope, that's a typo. It should be US New York West Hampton. So that'll be fixed. This
CVE
is,
New York.
it's US New York West Hampton 243. It's a lot. So this was a pre-submission conference hearing that we had on December 12th, and it's to install approximately 10 megawatt commercial scale solar facility in 2 phases of 5 megawatts each, which will consist of about 11,000 panels, transformers on a property that is currently being mined. Within the CR 200 zoning district, the Central Pine Barrens core and compatible growth areas, as well as the town Aquifer Protection Overlay District. There is a typo here. I forgot to add the compatible growth area. The project site is 114 acres overall. The proposed solar facility will occupy 25 acres per phase for a total of 50 acres. There were no comments received during the conference. However, there is a 30-day comment period as mandated by the town code, and we did receive one letter stating that the adjacent property owner had no objection to the application itself, but had some concerns with respect to records of easements for ingress and egress over the property, which Mr. Bill Martin will discuss further and which they are looking into at the moment. So the items to be submitted prior to are listed in the report, and some of the preliminary issues that need to be considered are whether or not to classify this as an opportunity site under the town code. There are avoidance areas, there are opportunity sites. This kind of falls in both. So it is an existing sand mine. It would be considered an opportunity site, but there are some other mitigating factors where it could be considered an avoidance site. But generally speaking, it appears mostly to be an opportunity site.
I think we should specify that.
Okay.
Because we're going to be seeing more of these. And this begins to create a record.
Right. Okay, so it's a type 1 action pursuant to SECRA. However, this was actually, lead agency was assumed by the Central Pine Barrens because parcel had been encumbered with a conservation easement. That was a Pine Barrens conservation easement. The Pine Barrens adopted a finding statement that said that they were going to eliminate the conservation easement to allow for the solar facility upon completion of mining activities. So we will have to adopt findings prior to granting any approvals on this project. The main issue at present is under 330-6 on general regulations of the town code. Residentially zoned parcels, which this is, are only allowed one use. And the question is, are they going to continue the sand mining operations while they undertake the solar facilities? That needs to be addressed and researched, and a decision needs to be made on how to move forward on this particular application. I mean, one of the options would be to subdivide it, but that seems kind of silly to make them go through an extra step. So that's something that has to be discussed and researched further. Again, the issue with classification as an opportunity site, it'll have to meet the special exception standards in Chapter 325 for commercial scale facilities. The site plan applications will require a decommissioning plan, a SWIP, and a landscape plan, as well as a management plan for the landscaping.
This is for the sand mine that's there.
For the portion,
decommissioning?
yeah, decommissioning for the actual solar facility.
Ah.
So the
I see.
special
After it's, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
right. So you have to have a plan in place as part of the approval.
Yep.
I
got it.
Again, access, adjacent site authorizations, whether or not they're going to have rights to access over the private right-of-way and have the transformers there, or if they're going to need to redesign the plan, that needs to be considered and resolved as part of any formal site plan application. Site plan elements, the applicant needs to identify the fence heights. They are proposing the 100-foot buffer requirements. They're going to have to demonstrate compliance with noise, submit a SWIP. They're going to also need a grid connection agreement prior to issuance of a building permit. Again, a decommissioning plan for the facility will be required as part of the special exception standards. Sustainability, we always talk about sustainability when we review site plans, and obviously this is a solar facility, so it should comply. That one complies. We will have to make referrals as part of the site plan, and then again, a public hearing should probably be held because of the scope of the project.
So is the sand mine still operating?
Yes.
Yes.
It is. So you'll get, when they close down, you'll get verification that that's...
Right, but again, there is some question whether they are going to continue to operate while they install and construct and operate the solar facility
So
in phases.
it's two phases, right? The first phase, the first 25 acres we can build right now, that property's been mined. The second phase, those 25 acres are currently being mined, so we'll do it in two phases, and that's the reasoning behind it. The DEC permit for the mining goes out to 2044. As part of our agreement with the Pine Barrens Commission, agreement of approval, is we take, the people that own the property would take 5 years off, so it would be fully mined in 2039. make a comment on town's proposed law and how that changes the
Yeah.
dynamic there, but,
Because you wouldn't be able to put the solar in until those other 25 acres are finished,
mined.
and that's
Yeah.
2039.
2039.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, in theory, there are ways around it through subdivision, but that's something that needs to be researched prior to the submission of the site plan.
I'm sorry, I missed this.
So 330-6, because it is a residentially
Okay, all
zoned
right.
parcel.
You moved on. Quickly there.
Oh, sorry.
So one of the things, and I'll talk to council outside of this hearing, but the opportunity area is one of the things it says, regardless of current zoning classification. So it does give you that out. Now, does that satisfy 330-6 is something I'll have to.
That's what I
Legal
talked about. They need to
interpretation.
revise the town code. I guess that's one of the
Right.
options
I
to
mean,
explore.
it seems rather silly, right? When there's an opportunity for them to do it without having an unnecessary step, right? Because in theory, they could just subdivide that section off and proceed. Because it's 100 acres in a 200 acre CR 200 zone, they have more than sufficient land area to subdivide. It just seems like it's an extra hurdle, but it is something that's in the code that needs to be resolved prior to any approval.
Sure. And also waiting a long time.
Yeah.
To install the second half of your business plan.
Well, I mean, I
Seems
think that's the
excessive.
plan anyway. It's just whether or not they are allowed to continue to mine the site while they operate phase one, right?
Isn't the town board doing something about the sand mines
They have
right
an
now?
amortization,
Right.
proposed amortization.
Right,
which is
which,
why I said I didn't.
again,
Right.
is
comment.
a whole nother monkey wrench that needs to get, that may affect this project. But
Well, it would just advance the second phase, right?
Right.
If they, because my guess is they'll fully mine it.
Yeah.
Quicker. to
Quicker
meet
and
the
then close it
amortization.
down. Right.
So the question I have, another thing that's under discussion, but maybe I don't know what the status is the BESS legislation.
So there was a
Where
work
the task
session about that
force-
today.
Oh,
There's a
okay.
draft code, but this does
There
not
is.
propose any energy storage.
Yeah,
Oh,
we can,
because it's-
thank you,
there's a
yeah.
moratorium on
Right.
it.
Right.
So-
There's a possibility. And I think this is the type of area that's been identified under that,
Yes,
at
and
least as far as I've been able to tell.
Seth,
So,
this would be an identified area?
Again, we'd have to make a determination, is it an opportunity site? I mean, we list sand mines as an opportunity.
but for both, I mean, for solar as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So, does your applicant own this property, have bought this property? You're leasing it.
Yes.
Do the sand mine people own it? I'm
Yes.
just trying to find, they
Yes.
do.
West
Okay.
Hampton
And they were
Property Associates.
actively involved in the Pine Barrens application.
Okay, so the owner's endorsement is all there, okay.
So I think it would just be useful to note in here in number 3, further relief or a use permit or determination by whom, right? So that would be the town board. And then same thing with who determines whether it's an opportunity site. Do we do
That would be you
Okay,
as part of the site plan process.
okay, great. So, yeah, just noting, whether the planning board defines it as an opportunity site and where does in number 3, who issues that relief or use permit for the concurrent operations?
I think
And
first
that
we need to determine if it's necessary.
Right.
Right,
Based
I'm
on the
just-
language of the code.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, because we're looking at adopting a report, I just want to be clear in the report who is considering which.
Right, in theory,
items.
if a use permit is required, that's done through the zoning board, right? I believe,
Okay,
right, because it would be a number of use variance in theory.
Right, and I don't want to admit to that. These variances are extraordinarily difficult
Yes,
to get, right, almost
Sure.
impossible, so, I'd rather it.
What I would say, let me just, as a person who sits with the zoning board, number of uses, I'm not saying that one person's right or wrong. I'm not sure that I agree with the statement that if you need a variance for a number of uses, that's a use variance. I'm not sure that I agree with that statement. I don't know if it's true or not, because it's still a dimensional standard. Number of uses.
The
is still
number
a
of uses.
dimensional
Yeah,
standard.
that's not a use variance.
So I just wanted to,
Historically,
before we go in that,
Yeah.
that
Right.
requires
I
a lot
mean,
more thought
again,
on my part.
It's all part of the larger discussion of how we proceed and whether or not you can have the two concurrent uses on this residentially zoned parcel, right? And that needs to be
That's the
happened.
bigger question.
Yeah, between
Not the number of uses, which is
Yeah.
more of a
Right.
commercial part of the code.
Right.
330 and 30.
So again, that's a discussion the legal minds need to have.
Yeah, so I'm not going down the path of making that determination. I'm just saying when I read it, I was confused about who decides that. And
Right.
so I wanted to
I think
make
it's
that comment.
probably gonna be the zoning board, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll discuss it.
Yeah.
And this is just review for today,
Mhm.
and then we'll adopt it because the comment period,
Oh,
the 30-day comment period is still
Still
open.
open. Okay, good.
Just one thing I want to correct, though, so you don't get in trouble with the Pine Barrens,
Yes.
is the easement was never removed, it was extended, right? So, and we have another easement that we have to do, but that conservation easement is on that property. And if there's any inference that it's not, the Pine Barrens will kill me.
Right.
Right. Do you, is that properly stated in there?
I'll wordsmith it a little bit.
Okay, because the overlay districts, you're going to add now the Central Pine Barrens compatible growth area.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
In
It's
the
half
front.
and half.
So
Right.
that's where it talks about there's no evidence of a recorded easement, that's where.
No, that's with respect to access.
Access?
So,
Okay. Where's the other?
Do you have a copy of the plan? It comes in off of Speonk Riverhead Road and it goes over it's more than a paper road, it's like a hardened dirt path over something called Evergreen. And then we cross a property. It was that property owner that we crossed who raised the objection
Of access.
of access. The current owner has a right and an easement to go over it. The question is whether they can do utilities or not. And what's happened is my client said, well, I think we can get access from a different spot. So they're in the middle of doing that, and they're gonna find out from the power authority relatively soon whether we can do
How
it.
that happens.
Yes. And it would come out on South Country Road, I think, so it's on the property that we're on the entire way.
Mhm.
again, and this is just an advisory and say, here are the
Yeah.
issues you gotta work
Yeah,
out
yeah,
before
yeah,
you
yeah.
come to
Yeah.
us.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was number 7.
Mhm.
And-
Just as long as you know where we're coming from.
Yep.
Zero access.
Well, it
So
seems like
we'll,
it's certainly a good location for this.
Right. So I'll have a resolution for the next meeting
Okay.
to adopt the report with the edits.
Okay,
Okay,
Good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Tom wants the basket over.
Are you John David?
It's like a child. It's like a child.
Mom, can I
It's like a child.
Seth?
80 Anchor
I'll take
Street,
one.
this is a pre-application
Return it shortly.
submission for a subdivision. This application was previously deemed incomplete. The applicant had proposed a driveway over a stormwater drain. So he has come back in with his plat, and it followed all I used the checklist, and it had everything I needed to deem it complete.
So it's complete and you want to schedule a public hearing?
Yes, please, for the 13th of February.
What does that look like now, Kristen?
That's fine.
Feb 13? Okay, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor,
Wonderful, thank you.
1 absent, and you have only one more?
I do.
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Do it.
Wonderful, okay.
Number 21, Mulvey, Francis Mulvey.
This one will be tricky. So this is the final application. You had approved the pre-application report from my predecessor Jeff Ulysses on July 13th of 2023. I was reviewing the submission for this application. It's for a 2-lot subdivision. It's taking 54,000 square feet and dividing it in half in an R40 zone. 7 Percy Avenue, okay, in West Hampton. One of the lots, as you can see, has a pre-existing home. It's been there for a very long time. I do have some maps.
Down the middle, right?
Yes, it is. So in reviewing the final application, I had noticed that the proposed secondary lot there down to the south was in an undisturbed wooded area. This parcel lies in the New York State archaeological sensitive area. I did notice the mailers were sent out to the Shinnecock Nation. However, I did not see anything else beyond that. And it is my understanding that it was a phase 1A and a phase 1B was required.
Did they do it?
No, they didn't.
Oh.
So
Okay, so
that perhaps should have been taken care of in the pre-submission report.
Yeah, just so the board knows here, it was correctly classified as a type 2 action under SECRA in the pre-app report. It happens sometimes that we have a conflict with the type 2 action, but it's in New York State archaeological sensitive area. So in that particular case, the report, because we do say, even though it's a type 2 action, you still got to do the archaeology if it's in New York State. It wasn't stated in there. So, in this case, the applicant just didn't know about it. So they came in with their final application, and then Seth came to me today and said, it's in New York State. So I just said, tell them that they're going to have to do it.
Yeah.
Leave it
So
at
how
that.
do we handle
So
this?
it's
Incomplete.
Incomplete.
Pending the submission of a phase 1A.
And B.
Did they receive a variance on this?
They do have a variance for lot size, relief for lot size.
Because these are undersized.
Yep.
R4, yes, they are.
Yep, they got the relief from the ZBA.
Did they get credit?
And they have their credits,
And they have credit?
because they have the Board of Health approval.
The credit was for sewage,
Septic
though.
flow.
Septic.
Yeah. Well,
Not
They got the relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals, and any credits that they had to bring in is solely for sanitary purposes.
okay, so let's deem this incomplete. Motion by Kate, second by David. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you, Seth.
Thank you.
Anthony, you're
That's it
on
for me.
Yep.
for 26 Hillside Road.
This strange place, but, so I have an application for this site here. It's a 3-lot subdivision. This is in the Shinnecock Hills section of town, so it's not an aquifer. It is in the R60 zoning district.
It's not APOD?
What's that?
It's not
It's
APOD?
not APOD. No, Shinnecock Hills is not an APOD.
Yeah, but we,
But they came in with a 3-lot subdivision. I'm recommending that we deem it incomplete.
No
There's a lot of
cluster?
stuff on here. They didn't give a cluster plan. There's nothing really shown on here. No topo, nothing, so we
No.
just deem it incomplete at this point.
Who's the owner now?
26 Hillside Road.
Do we know the owner?
Yes.
So we had this on for
It should be in the application for the
a couple of years back, didn't we?
Yes, I never
you
remember
know, we
this
can always
actually.
push for
hold
clearing
on.
restrictions
Yeah.
in Shinnecock Hills.
Linda Arthur Fraser?
And they're looking to subdivide to 3 lots?
Yes.
Can we look at that again?
Oh, you're in and around this area, aren't you?
That's my neighbor.
Okay.
We-
That was a question that I had.
Contiguous property.
Maybe it's for Mark.
So maybe, do I have to recuse myself or not?
Ask Christina. That's it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Now I
Mhm.
remember why you were looking at me like that. I did know that. So yes, it's for a 3-lot subdivision, but they didn't submit everything, so.
Okay, so we deemed it incomplete. We
We deemed
did,
it
we voted on that, right? No, not yet. Motion to deem it incomplete by Tom, second
Second.
by Dennis. All in favor? Opposed, abstentions? 5 in favor, 2 absent. It's okay for completion and
Yeah, I don't have to
completion,
worry
that's
about
okay.
that. Talk to Christina.
So then we're going, Anthony, to Ashley Capraro,
Yes.
number 22.
And we'll go back to Willow there. Well, you guys saw the site plan before, so we got the formal site plan in. I forwarded to the planning board the traffic study. what we're gonna do today is, and I spoke to the applicant, we're just deeming the application incomplete. I'm still waiting for the engineer's review. The mapping submission was good, they submitted everything, but we still have to go through the secret. In this particular case, the building's over 4,000, so it's an unlisted action. So what I'm going to recommend is, and you don't need to take an action just other than deeming it incomplete, is we'll do an uncoordinated review, because it's the health department and the Department of Transportation, and they're not going to be interested. And so on the 23rd, we'll discuss secret and we'll talk about the traffic study. So it's been sent to you, so take a look at it so we can have that discussion.
Okay, so, but because you know and you've looked at it, you said that they were going to reconfigure the property. I know that they're proposing to take down the small building.
That's correct. And then reutilize the existing building, and then
They're recutting the driveway out on Montauk Highway, I think.
We're eliminating that, I think.
No, that
Or
one stays,
eliminating.
the one on Willow.
The one, right.
So
one
we're
of
putting
them,
one
yeah.
into Willow, right?
Yeah.
But we wanted to line up with the other property.
Right.
They're eliminating the Montauk Highway cut though, right?
That is not shown on the plan. They still show that
That
the
wasn't-
access.
Oh, I thought it was.
What you sent us, that wasn't part of it? Okay.
I think that's something we'd look for, right?
Yeah,
Well,
we look
let's,
forward to close out.
perfect. We're
Sure.
gonna be having a secret discussion on the
Oh.
23rd, so, and we
Absolutely.
can look at the traffic study. Let's have the discussion and see, when the applicant's
Can I
here.
get a paper copy of that at some point?
Absolutely.
The traffic study. I
Sure.
read it online, but
I hear you, it's
it's
easy.
hard
need
to
to
make
print
notes
it
on my
out.
screen.
You know,
Yes.
I know, I get it. So we'll deem this one incomplete. We got some stuff we gotta work on first, so.
Okay. Motion to deem it incomplete by Kate, second by Tom, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Anthony, your Hampton Cove Estates, number 23.
So that was the conversion, if everybody remembers, on Canoe Place there. The existing, they're apartments, but they were once hotels, 6 or 8 of them.
Little cottages, you mean?
No, it was
No.
just the one building with, let me.
Right.
Yeah, it's this site right here.
Enclosing,
Fanning and Canoe.
right. Enclosing the dumpster was, there were little things.
There were little things, but we initially were processing this as, because of issues, we were processing that there was no septic upgrade happening with this, because it was, there was a determination that it wouldn't be necessary. But subsequent to that, after having discussions with the building department and other people, they have to upgrade the septic system for this site. They're gonna have a health department issue on the conversion. So the applicant knows this, I spoke to them, so they're working on getting revised plans. So what I told them I would do is, I would just redeem this application incomplete until we get the revised plans. But they are gonna upgrade the septic system here.
What's the cross street on that, Anthony?
We have, it's corner,
Fanning?
Canoe and Fanning.
Right.
It's well-maintained site, it didn't have any issues because it's pretty well-maintained, but, so I'm just recommending that we deem it incomplete.
Okay, motion to deem it incomplete by Dennis, second by Tom, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. 24 and 25 are off the agenda.
On the 26th, this is nice and easy.
This is
Good,
the
we
site
like easy.
disturbance clearance.
Yes, this was, sites have changed over time. We did a bunch of covenant amendments in this subdivision. The covenants restricted the lots to 35%, and we probably had 12 of them have come in this subdivision. To change it, no public hearing was necessary. So this is known as Lot 41 of Knollcrest Woods at 16 Cambridge Court. It was subject to a 35% covenanted restriction, and they've requested a 60% in accordance with the APOD, consistent with what we've done on the other ones. And so I'm recommending it. It was not subject to a public hearing, but does require the 5 votes on this. It's the one resolution I do have, but forgot to give to you. So I'm recommending approval of this covenant amendment, subject to review and approval of the legal docs.
Any questions?
No.
Motion by
Motion.
by Dennis, second by Kate, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, that's a supermajority.
Beautiful.
2 absent. And now we're gonna go back to the town board resolutions that Claire is gonna walk us through.
Yeah.
Town board referrals.
That's around the block. Yeah, and we've had 3 or 4 since I got here.
Yeah.
And all the houses have gone up for sale immediately, or they've opened up for sale.
So speculation.
And they've had to get these.
Oh,
to Sell
yeah.
the house.
Sure.
I'll see those
You
now.
look for some.
We'll go one at a time if that's okay. Start with the distance from the streets. One, right? Is that next?
Which one?
Distance from the street?
Are we in a work session?
No.
It's listed under work session.
No, it's under town board referral.
Oh, okay, above it says work session, so.
Yeah, there's
Got
something
me
under there.
confused.
The first 3 are like easy cleanup things. So to date, instead of saying the property line, it says distance from the street, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the code, when it gives you setbacks, the dimensional, it says principal, side yard, front yard, rear yard. When you get to accessory structures, it says side yard, rear yard, and then it says distance from street setback, which is creating all sorts of issues because I use this example. If you have a flag lot, okay, and you get to pick your front yard in the, but what's been happening is the building department's been treating that requirement, distance from street, as a front yard setback. Now, I've done consulting work. I would go and I would scream and I would say, where in the code does it say? If I was distance from street, that's what it says. So we're fixing the code and so we can eliminate this problem.
It says distance from front lot line.
Distance
Going
from
to
front
say
lot line is what it should say.
From front lot line.
The other way of looking at that is the right of way, the town right of way. On the property owner side, it's their front lot line. On the town side, it's the town right of way.
Right, but in a, as he says, in a flag pole, there's no street.
That's
So
right.
why
So
we're saying front.
the issue is that if someone said, you know, they have a flag lot and they want to adhere, my point is that one can make the argument, I'm a distance from street is 70 feet for an accessory structure. Well, that brings me into the into the flag strip. Basically, what it does. You would make the argument and say, I meet the code requirement. You can't measure distance from street from an interior lot line. That's not what the code says.
Right.
So we're fixing it, basically.
So the language is changed where, Claire?
So instead, it's actually, and I forgot to tell you, it's in the actual dimensional tables. It'll, instead of saying distance from street, it'll say distance from lot line. In very small.
Is this what we're looking at, the resolution?
That's the resolution for it, but it actually refers to this table, this actual table, and that's the wording that's changing. Okay.
And this, you're adding the word waterfront property.
Yes, and they're also adding the word rather than the waterfront property line. Yeah.
So you have
That's
a
also
couple
the
of
property
issues.
line. Right, because in the situation of waterfront property, it switches, right?
Right. So you're solving a couple of issues with
Yeah,
this.
so your front is the water, but it says front.
Same as the flag lot.
Right.
Right, and that the reason for adding the wetlands thing is because, or that switch is because you want to again measure it from a property line because you have to double your property lines when you have a waterfront and everything. If you maintain a distance from street setback as opposed to calling it the front line, it creates all sorts of interpretation problems for the town.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to say the planning board supports the clarification of the code.
Yes. Nice. Yeah.
I'll move it.
Motion by Dennis, second by Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Okay.
Second one is road
Pyramid.
height and pyramid.
Yes, Anthony can explain this one too. He experiences everything.
I could get this
You're
on
good
the
at
photo.
it, Anthony.
Teacher Anthony.
Well, because the
You've
way
got the ZBA
they
part.
go to the ZBA. Look, the way that it was stated is, how they are measuring the pyramid law, basically, as it relates to the grade of the property. So the way it was worded, it says the vertical distance measured from the average elevation of the existing natural grade before any fill has been or is proposed to be placed thereon.
In other words, it shouldn't be elevated, it should be
Right,
ground
but
level.
they limited to, what they said was it's got to be measured from natural grade before any fill has been brought on. You could alter the natural grade without bringing any fill on the property,
Right.
any type of disturbance. So what they did was they changed the language to say that vertical distance measured from the average elevation of natural, not existing, of the natural grade prior to any site disturbance. So that way,
I think that's
it's
clear.
better than saying fill.
Yeah.
Because the presumption is you're bringing in fill and you just elevating the property.
Right.
You don't want to measure from that. So we say from natural grade prior to any disturbance. No trees come out, because you could go in there and grade
You could.
Yeah.
without bringing in any
Suppose
fill.
there's like a dip, a natural dip. That's the natural grade.
Well, they got to measure from the correct point.
Yeah.
But yes, if that was the natural grade, that would be there to their benefit, I suppose. But yeah, that was the reason why they did it, is because you could get crafty when the code's written, some gray areas.
Yes, loophole, these are loopholes.
Well, it's the use of language, you need precise language.
Good.
Yeah.
Natural grade, okay. And on the back of this, it's how you define how the natural grade is determined, which is good.
Yes, and because they added determined by indicating spot elevations, again, prior to any disturbance. So they give you how you need to measure this.
So who does this?
Architects have to. This is a building department issue mostly.
Mostly.
You will rarely see it come before this planning board unless it involves a commercial property.
It's all building.
But it's building. The architects have to do it, and then it goes to Marjorie. And Marjorie reviews it in very, very excruciating
This is
detail.
one of the things that we had brought up with Janice, I think, so thank you.
Well, you'll if you watch zoning board, if you're inclined to do that, you'll see that a lot of the variances we get are for pyramid.
Pyramid, yeah.
I'll move that.
Move
Yeah,
a
so
motion?
planning board supports the clarification of the
Yeah,
code.
same
Okay.
language. So motion by Kate, second by David, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor.
This is
Yeah.
more of a scrivener's error. It just, in the regulations under 330-183 of the town code, it references the wrong code.
Oh.
Instead of the fencing where the screening and the dumpsters is, it references 108B where it's supposed to be 109B. So it must have been like a change at one point and then they just never carried. So this is a correction.
So where are the deleted words and?
The last sentence, screening the dumpsters pursuant to 330, it was 108B, which has nothing to do with
So 90
anything. So it's 109B.
9B became 8
Yeah.
by somebody with dyslexia.
Yep.
I would say no planning issues.
Okay.
No.
No.
Clarification, well, it's a
Planning.
We
clarification.
fully support.
It's all clarification.
There's no
It's really
issues.
good to go through all of this with a fine tooth comb. or
There's
flat
another one.
tooth
Actually,
comb,
we should.
you know.
This
The
one's
park
more
requirement, how we calculate park requirement is not correct in the subdivision regulation.
All right, let me take a vote.
Yeah,
on
but the
this.
problem with,
Motion,
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
motion by Dennis, second by Tom, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Now, what were we saying?
I'm saying the park requirement that the
Yeah.
code is not correct, actually. It's supposed to be calculated at 0.05
0.05.
acre per lot, and it says 0.5. That's a big difference.
That's huge
Big
for
difference.
money wise, right?
Well,
But
it's
the
huge
next
for
one
the
coming
amount
up
that
next
comes
week.
out of a yield and everything, so that needs to be fixed.
And there's a few in the vehicle and traffic law, I could tell you too.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know. This last one is a little bit more of a discussion. So if you may be aware that when something has no CO and it's a non-conforming use, to date, they go to the building inspector, chief building inspector, who makes a determination based upon the records they're submitting. And they're submitting affidavits from people that say this has been in place and there since 1957, right? And so time has passed. You know, that's 70 plus years ago. The people alive one. You're gonna, but the issue with this is coming up is that they'd like to have a public process by which there is the establishment of these non-conforming uses on the property. Because right now it just submitted administratively and the chief building inspector looks at the information and makes a determination whether, well, a neighbor could come, right, and say, well, no, that building wasn't there. I've been here since, you know, that building was built in 1980, you know, so it gives the opportunity for neighbors to be informed. And so this is a ZBA process, just like a regular ZBA application for the establishment of non-conforming uses, pre-existing non-conforming uses.
So the ZBA determination would override a building department, right?
Well, this would be a new process. It would no longer be administrative for non-conforming uses, non-conforming uses, not houses. Houses will still go through the regular process. But if you're a non-conforming use, like two cottages on one piece of property, that would now, if there's no COs on the property, it would now have to go through a ZBA.
And say, oh yeah, my family's had this here forever, and nobody knew any better. So they're informing the neighbors, so the neighbors can say, yeah, we've been here, we saw it, or we didn't see it.
Right.
What is the actual process?
So the process,
just like the ZBA, an application, regular ZBA application.
Just noticing, is there a hearing?
Yes.
there'll be a hearing. The way it works now is you got to submit whatever criteria, whatever information you can to, you've got to prove to the chief building inspector. You submit the information, you know, they find that everything's in order, that a pre-existing CO could be issued for a non-conforming use or building. If a neighbor wants to challenge that, because you could challenge, I see it at the zoning board, you challenge the chief's determination. You only get 30 days or something to do it, and since these are typically ministerial applications, the public doesn't know about it. So in these particular cases now, we'll just set it as a public, like any other ZBA application, they're always public hearings.
The only drawback with this process is that if the building inspector makes a determination and that your remedy, if you're a neighbor and objected, your remedy is to go to the zoning board of appeals.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a zoning board of appeals application, your only remedy is a much higher bar, it's an Article 78. I think a more workable solution would be a noticing provision through the building department. It's like, hey, I got an application for a pre-existing C of O, do the radius noticing just like we do in the normal code. Here's the application, here's their evidence, and here's what they're asking me to approve. That allows, first of all, it brings the residents, the neighboring properties in an earlier juncture. And second, it gives them an easier avenue to appeal because then they can just go right to the ZBA. That would be.
But it still leaves the authority in the
Article
building
78,
department.
to file out Article 78. I mean, for the average neighbor, working neighbor, you gotta get an attorney, you gotta.
But they have the ZBA process already, though. They're
What's
in they would be in a ZBA hearing process already.
Right, but if the ZBA, you're going right to the ZBA,
Right.
the only way to challenge the ZBA is through an Article 78. If they want to challenge the building department's determination, it's a much easier avenue to go to the ZBA.
There's no public, the purpose of a building department is to be administrative.
Right.
Not to have a
Not
public
to make
portion.
No,
of their
there
property.
wouldn't be a hearing.
No, I know, but then what are they?
Noticing provision.
And then, he issues
In
it,
fact,
and 3 days later, they get the letter that says.
The applicant, the burden could be in the applicant.
It has to be.
To-
We
to-
can't undertake that burden to have to do mailings and all that every time somebody comes in and asks us.
For requesting, that's a
should have
big,
to do
that's a
it.
big request. That's a big ask of the building inspector. I've got a pre-existing non-conforming use, please recognize that. That's a big ask. I don't think it's a high hurdle for an applicant to have to do the radius mailing, just like you do in a public hearing, everything showing the map, showing the request, and it's on the applicant, so it's no more work for the building inspector. That could bring the objectant in earlier to
But
say,
who
hey,
are
wait
they
a minute.
objecting to then?
What's that?
Who are they're objecting to
Who do
the
they bring
chief
it
building inspector, instead of the chief building inspector going, issuing a permit, right? This is what he usually does. Now he has to wait to see if the public comments come in. If they come in like 10
30
days
30
later,
days.
you know what I mean? I'm just thinking like, that's what we do, right? But that's not it would be making
It's like
a
where are the
new
intersections of public engagement?
public
Yeah.
process
There's no
with
public input.
the building department.
I
don't know.
You know,
I would
here's-
suggest it.
Here's what I see all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know about this.
Yeah.
And our window to challenge this now is closed because we didn't, there's like 10-day or whatever the
Right,
thing.
very
We didn't know. If we had known about this, we were challenging. I hear this constantly.
Yes.
And this way, hey, you knew about it. You're on notice. Get your ducks ready because you can go right, as soon as that determination is made, you can go right to the ZBA.
You know, Dennis,
I
you
think
make
it
a
warrants
fair
further,
point.
I think it warrants
really think
with
this,
Janice
you know.
or someone who's I don't know who's sponsoring the legislation, it may warrant a little bit more discussion on it.
No, I think it does.
You're making me think about something here, about bringing right at the very get-go here, the public involved in what's normally COs and building permits, like Claire said, are typically administrative.
They are,
But not
except
the non-conforming.
the time period is ending for these affidavits. I mean,
That's what the
remember
issue is, I think,
that
the
is
town's
like,
finding is
I
that-
mean, that is ending.
No,
Can't
we're
fucking-
talking
It's gonna
about
be
30
over
days.
in the next
This
10
is a
years.
big
just,
thing.
Just to take a theoretical make-believe situation.
Mhm.
Somebody comes with a pre-existing non-conforming, not an application, they want a CO for that property, right?
Mhm.
So they go to the building inspector. What you're saying is that the building inspector then has to do what?
The building the applicant submits whatever evidence he has to the building inspector, usually in the form of affidavits. And then the building inspector says, okay, I'll accept your evidence, I'll issue you pre-existing non-conforming use.
Yeah.
No one knows about it.
All right, so that's the problem. You want to get it out of that area because it's an administrative, he's doing an administrative function.
Yeah.
But yet when he gives approval, he's giving much more than that.
It's the opposite. You're right in theory, but what he's actually doing, he's giving administrative approval to a non-administrative, which should not be an administrative
Exactly.
approval function.
Okay,
There is
that's-
discretion
okay.
and there's proof.
It's
Right.
exactly, it's the last vestige
Right.
of what they characterize as the backroom process. Used to happen a lot in this building, but that's the last vestige. It's a closed office, one-on-one, no one knows about it. And we hear it time and again, gosh, if I'd known it, we would have gone to the ZBA and challenged it.
Maybe don't even let them make the application.
Well, I was gonna
And
say
part of the
pre-submission.
process, they have to do the application, the affidavits they have, and proof of service to all the surrounding, however many feet you wanna make it, that they saw these affidavits, they saw what they're trying to do, and they have X number of days to, you know,
Right.
object, make an objection or something like that.
Just like we do on
So
public
where's their
hearings.
initial point of contact though?
That,
It's
that
still-
you're creating another process for the building department. I mean, no matter how you look at it, even if you make them do it.
Right,
the
but
building
like we
department has
have
to track it.
pre-submission hearings.
No, but the building, it would be part of the application process. Here's your affidavits, and you just, where's your notices? It would
Right,
be-
but then they need,
To
they need
initiate that.
time to show that they've done an affidavit. Somebody has to look at it and say, okay, yeah, your affidavits did have the 500 feet. Those are all the residents you had to do, and we have to give them the list of people on the assessment roll that are included within that 500 radius. There's things
Well,
that
that's
we're
up to
gonna
them.
have to do.
Their
So-
attorney
But
or
we give them that.
their consultant would.
We give them that.
Well, just I'll give my.
How do they do it on
sorry.
public hearings? Who gives them
We
that?
give them that.
Okay.
The assessor's office does that.
Well, maybe then
Assessors-
what we do
Well,
is.
but it's the applicant that has to secure that from the assessor's
Yes,
office.
yes.
Yeah, so it's public record. It's a big.
No,
this is a
you're
big
right. That's
thing.
maybe what we. I'm just giving opinion here.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I think
maybe
it's
what
a
we
great
say
discussion.
is the planning board finds that this section of the code warrants some
further.
changes. However, the process of how this is going to happen needs to be better defined, so it's not burdensome on the building department or excessively burdensome on that. We need to have the process defined better.
It wants
How?
further discussion.
And it
Yeah, I mean, I
allows-
think.
allows public input.
Early.
You know,
Early.
that's the argument for a public hearing.
Yeah, the
I'm
question
telling
is
you,
what's
get
the
up and
mechanism to get that
That
public
window
comment.
closes and then
Right, that's
people
the
pull
thing.
their hair out.
The process that Dennis is saying is public comments. but writing and emails,
I got
it's
a notice
not
and-
a public
Public
hearing.
Right, right.
Yeah,
I get a
gotta-
notice and I send
And
in
only
a
the
copy of my
ZBA
survey or
would have
whatever
that.
it is I have that disputes the application. I've just mailed in a copy of my survey or whatever it might be.
As you can imagine,
You don't
there
get a
could be
chance to
down-
talk it through.
There could be
Yeah,
downsides
public
of a
hearings,
public
that
hearing
is.
too, coming before the zoning board of
Oh,
appeals
sure.
on issues like this, because as everybody knows, they could sort of go sideways,
People are told time and again, your window to challenge this decision is closed. I've heard it so many times. We've heard it collectively.
So maybe that should also be an ingredient, that the window for challenge should not be 30 days, it should be 60 days or 3 months.
Well,
And is
this
there
whole
a
thing, I think,
requirement of
warrants.
publication? Do we have a publication requirement once they render them? Do we have a publication that they have to, I approve this one in the paper?
You mean for pre-existing? CO?
Currently, you
No,
mean?
not at all.
I mean,
Nothing, so
maybe a
somebody-
requirement for a publication would give everybody notice that they have, that's when their 10 days is gonna.
I mean, yeah, we gotta think about this a
I
little
think
bit.
our message to the town board, we're not gonna solve this at 4:30 on the planning board.
No.
It's just-
That's
this-
true.
This is one of the paramount issues facing land use decision and the planning board has significant suggestions and input with
We need
regard to
some
this
time to-
process and would appreciate further discussion with the project sponsors or Janice Weber.
We'll get Janice to come in here. so
Whoever
we can
brought
hash
this
it out a little
forward,
bit.
like, thank you for
Yeah,
thinking of this and bringing this forward.
yeah, it's an important issue.
You know.
Yeah, no, it's good. No, you don't have to respond today. The hearing's not till the 28th.
Well, we could tell them,
No,
we'd
but
like
I
to,
think
we'd like to sit
that's
down
our-
and talk.
That's our comment.
Okay, so supports a new process. I'm gonna say the planning board supports a new process which involves the public in the decision making. Doesn't burden the building departments.
However.
However.
Supports in the application process.
Oh, well, that's.
Warrants further discussion.
Yeah.
She's
It
good.
warrants
She's
nothing
good.
if we put
That's
all
fine.
this together now.
As
It
long as it
warrants,
doesn't come back to the planning board, this is.
no.
It can't, it
Yeah,
can't.
No
This is actually,
ZBA
this is a
function.
permit that's being issued. It can
Yeah.
only be issued by the building departments or, the
The
ZBA.
ZBA.
Yeah.
It's a big thing out here,
Yeah,
though.
it is. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a lot of the whole pre-existing non-conforming thing is
Yep.
crazy. You know, I
I
mean,
think
we've
that whole
never,
section of the code needs
we've
to be-
never, a whole section of the code needs to be reviewed.
Yep.
Because we never retire any pre-existing non-conforming
We
use.
just automatically give them a 50% expansion. Boom.
Or a
50%.
change to
Or
another.
a
Or
change,
changing
right.
for non-conforming
When it
use.
shouldn't be 50%, it should be more
Well,
like
now that's
30%.
that's
Tell you,
now before the
90%
town
of our
board.
headaches.
Is it before the town
Now
board?
it is, those expansions are.
Oh,
Oh,
good,
yeah.
good.
90% of our headaches, Jackie, come from this.
Yeah.
These non-conforming.
The non-conforming uses.
Okay.
Can I
So
ask
can
one
we-
other
should-
thing? Well,
Yeah.
Do we, is that our?
Well, I
that's
want to
cut
make
you
sure
off.
that your language is good. Planning board supports a new process which involves the public in the terminating pre-existing non-conforming certificates of occupancy. However, this warrants further discussion with the town board.
Well, I think that the
No.
proposed
Further
code changes warrant further
Further
discussion
review,
Right.
discussion and
before
review.
anything's adopted as the planning board has.
Right.
Because we
Yep.
have to send this, we have to adopt this
Yeah.
as our report, right? We have
Yes.
to adopt-
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but you could also
No,
think
no,
about
that-
it and,
That captures it.
yeah, okay, perfect.
Okay.
Let me do that and
I
then
think
we'll
the
go from
fact that
there.
we couldn't come to a conclusion means.
There's a lot to it, and I think the intention is all good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that there be public, and that's why I wanted to put that right in the
Right.
first sentence.
So I'll move to adopt that.
Great.
okay.
Okay, motion as revised by Dennis, second by Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
5 in favor, 2 absent.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
The other day, I watched, I think it was the work session, like December 19th or something like that. I think there was a discussion, Janice was having a discussion about clearing limits,
Okay.
clearing regulations. Do you know?
No,
Anything
that's
about
new.
that?
Something
I
I
like
think they were talking about potentially having clearing restrictions on residential. Is that the one?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
that they haven't done anything yet, but yes.
You mean outside of APOC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think it was
and
just a preliminary
That was something
discussion.
that we brought up.
we've talked
We
about
brought
that.
up, yes,
So,
clearing restrictions.
Whatever the mechanism process is here, you know, I
Okay.
think we'd like to hear what's going on or
Mhm.
opinionate on what's going on or.
Mhm.
uh,
Okay.
Yeah, I think at one point.
Or even commercial, I think.
Marty Shea shared his
Commercial.
tree protection law that never went. We had suggested that that be looked at again, so I don't know if that's renamed.
Okay.
Does he have a copy? Is there a copy of that?
Yeah, I have it in my email, so I can send it.
Can you send it to me?
Yep.
I'm telling Janice she's gonna have to come see you
Well,
guys.
Well, since the issue comes before the planning board,
Mhm.
it's something that we should weigh in on, you know, and I think, thank you, Dennis, for looking at it differently, creatively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, there are always more ways to do it, right?
Right.
Yeah, but it's got to be well thought out because you can't just randomly send things to the zoning board or to the planning board
No.
to resolve without having it, especially when the public's involved, because everything at the zoning board is a public hearing. Everything. There's nothing other than a public hearing.
That's
So,
correct.
so no matter what we discuss is open to the public all the time. So we've got to have this hashed out before we
Sure, sure.
we'll
And
be
it's
bothered
great
by it.
that I think that the codes are being tweaked and
Yep.
refined and,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever. So,
Good.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by
Brenna's going to be with you guys this evening. She's getting that comp time.
Who's that? Who's
Brenna.
Oh, Brenna. Oh, okay, good, good.
All in favor, 5 in favor?
I killed the trees. I might as well
5
give
in
it to you.
favor, 2 absent. Which is
That's the NRP stuff.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
For next